planning board meeting with Connie Ulysses and time is 7 p.m. On tonight's agenda, we have two items, but first off, we're going to do roll call. So each, go ahead.
Rebecca Schneider,
Linda Little.
Pete Angie, Chair.
Lars Klein.
We have two public hearings tonight. Prior to that, we're also going to have a privilege of the floor. The privilege of the floor is for people who want to talk about something that is not in regard to one of the public hearings. Do we need more seats? I think we do.
We do.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause right now. We're gonna get, yeah, good. Hearing. On the women's residential addiction recovery review. We'll give a chance to discuss this. Your address for the record at the microphone up here. After the public hearing for cars, we will have a discussion as a board. And then if we decide to vote on a resolution, that's what we'll do. After that, there's a public hearing for the inn at Teganic Falls. This is the first public hearing for the inn at Teganic Falls. And the applicant will have a chance to present their give her to the board. And then the board will get a chance to discuss. After our discussion in both instances, if there are additional comments that members of the public would like to add, having heard the discussion, that there'll be a time for that as well. Proposed agenda. The one is the deed adjustment for, oh, what's the name? Bartish. Right.
I have a comment on that too.
Okay. And I would like to add that after approval of past minutes. Actually, let's add that after privilege of the floor before old business. And then I would also like to add scheduling the Jacksonville Community Association public hearing on their special permit.
I would like to add just a quick one is I would like to have an update on what's going on with the trainings. I know there's been some conversation about that. Just a quick one from, I guess, the liaison, like, are we now subject to the time frame in that particular training? So at the very end.
Did we include that with the town board?
Yeah,
Liaison
yep.
report? Okay. All right, so adding those two items to after the privilege of the floor, I would accept a motion for that adjustment.
Becca,
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Excellent. All right, so the minutes that are before us tonight are for three past meetings. We have July 18th, August 1st, and August 15th. I would like to take each of those as a separate vote. Could I get a motion to approve the minute of July 18th as
I haven't had a chance, so I'm not.
Okay.
Look.
okay?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I would like to accept a motion for the August 1st, 2023 minutes to be approved as written.
Rebecca, first.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, and are you
Aye.
abstaining from all of
I was
those?
gonna
Okay,
stay because I haven't had the chance.
Okay. okay. And I would accept a motion for the August 15th minutes to be accepted as written. All in,
Oh, now I wasn't here on that date, so am I allowed to, or do I have to abstain?
I think that you should abstain.
Yeah.
And I think that we should then table that
Yep.
for our next meeting. So that you two have had a chance.
Yep.
And you won't be there, so we'll.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. Table it.
Okay.
I'll
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Oh, aye.
Aye. Excellent. Okay. And. Next up is we have privilege of the floor. So this is anybody who would like to address the planning board in regard to a topic that is not the cars expansion or the Antigonic Falls. Any takers? Okay. Niels, were you able to find any additional chairs? How many folks do we have out there?
Run two more in.
Okay.
Chairs out there.
Yeah, how many folks are in the hall?
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 in the hall? Can you check the conference room?
Brought two more, so we have two in the hallway.
Okay.
We can bring them in or standing room.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to bring them in. I'd like
Yeah.
people to be able to sit. All right, so we're gonna adjourn for just a second and.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thanks.
Oh, we have to adjourn?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how to adjourn.
It's like a pause.
We're
Pause,
Yeah.
we'll pause. I was-
Okay, pause.
Make a motion for pause. A chair pause. Oh, yeah.
Enough chair?
Yeah.
We do. Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Maybe it's.
It's just a lot of people joining at once. and it-
Yeah, if it does shut down, could you, I'll make. Oh. All right, so everybody that wants a chair has a chair. So, have the board members had a chance to review the deed? Yeah, have you, the deed addition, it's like an amendment to the Bartoshevitz deed?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, okay,
I looked at it, but I didn't understand. I mean,
okay.
I'm not
okay.
really sure what's
All right.
going on.
All
The
right.
point is,
So with this particular matter, it was the subdivision that had a Finger Lakes Land
Right.
Trust.
Yeah.
Could you speak up?
Yes, it was a subdivision that had a Finger Lakes Land Trust. Conservation easement on it,
right,
and we wanted to ensure that the conservation easement continues with the deed.
right,
And so we passed a resolution approving the subdivision with that as a caveat,
right.
sort of with that
There's a
condition.
condition, right,
And so a deed restriction was written up by Bartoshevitz's attorney and reviewed by Finger Lakes Land Trust. And so we have that in front of us.
oh, so we have to agree that that is sufficient, that
Yeah.
that covers it?
Yeah.
Ah,
And I mean, Nate has,
misunderstood.
yeah, so Nate Van Wy, our attorney, has looked at it,
yeah,
and believes it's sufficient. And then it's also sort of us to look at it. It's very, did you see, do you have
It's
it
3
in front of you?
sentences. I don't have it. I just cut out the piece where I want to make a.
It's
comment.
very short. I mean,
yeah, I looked at
you
it,
looked at it.
but I didn't understand why we were looking at it.
I
So,
see.
okay,
Yeah,
that was the point, yeah,
I actually wanna, so it reads, the conservation easement shall continue with the deed for parcel A unless the town of Ulysses grants express permission to remove such restrictions. I would like to have, well, I would recommend we add in there, in consultation with Finger Lakes Land Trust at the time, right? I mean, this whole thing is
Right.
their easement. They've been maintaining it. It usually comes with some benefits to the owner. And it's, the town shouldn't be able to just say, oh, sure, get rid of that. I think, so I would add the phrase in, unless the town of Ulysses in consultation with the Finger Lakes Land Trust grants express permission. That's what I would like to see added.
I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to see this? Tom?
I have, yeah, I have it. I just haven't read it yet.
Given that that we did approve this previously, and I would like to be able to move forward with approving this, that our attorneys looked at it, that we've approved the subdivision, that we asked for this and they provided it. I think if we approved it with a condition of, with that addition.
That little parenthetical expression, get at it, that's fine, I'm happy with that.
Is there a resolution to that? I don't see.
I mean, we don't have a written resolution, however, I think we would say, you know, accept the
motion.
deed as written. You can make a motion using the wording that you just.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept the deed that restriction that's been offered with the caveat that the phrase following, unless the town of Ulysses, comma, in consultation with Finger Lakes Land Trust, comma, grants express permission to remove such restriction. So I made the motion.
I second.
Any discussion?
Pete, can I just jump in real quick?
Is it Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nate, go ahead.
The motion referenced it as a deed. It's actually a declaration of restriction.
I see,
Okay.
thank
Okay.
you. Okay. All right, so can I get a second then?
Yes. I
Okay,
second that
any
one,
any
Joe.
further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent, all right, thank you. So the second addition to tonight's agenda was scheduling a public hearing for the Jacksonville Community Association's special permit site plan review. And when we wanted to schedule that for, and I'm not gonna make comment because I am a member of the Jacksonville Community Association. So I will leave that discussion and any resolutions to you. And for this matter, I'd like to hand over my responsibilities as chair to Linda as vice chair.
All right, so all we're doing, the zoning, the BZA passed the variance, so now all we need to do is schedule a public hearing for our
Would we
next
need
meeting.
10 days? 10 days?
Yeah,
So it could be on the next meeting.
so the next
Which
meeting,
is 19. Excuse me?
19.
Oh, 19, okay, good. These-
14-5, isn't it?
So I'll make a motion.
Second.
Hold public meeting on the next.
Okay, all in favor, any
Aye.
discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the 19th. Back to you.
All right, excellent. So that brings us to our first public hearing of the night, which is Cayuga Addiction Recovery Services, and they are planning an expansion to their existing facility on Route 227. And this has been in the works for some time. And so I invite the applicant to the podium to describe the project.
Okay, I'm Jessica Jansen. I don't know if I need it. I'm Jessica Jansen, I'm the CEO over at Cars. We.
I don't know, right there.
I don't think it's fine. Is that something we can?
No, this is batteries and the batteries.
Okay, the batteries are dead, so, but if you just speak up, you'll be able to be captured through this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm Jessica Jansen, I'm the CEO over at Cayuga Addiction Recovery Services. I'm joined tonight with John Gaetano, who is the Assistant Vice President of Facilities for Cayuga Health System, which we are a part of. I also have members of my team on Zoom. I have our legal counsel, Wendy, the architects and from FFAE, and also our advanced design crew, our engineers. So we have presented the project. This is a 25-bed women's residential facility to provide substance use treatment for women struggling with substance use disorder. At our last meeting, one of the things we discussed was the lighting of our existing facility. And there were some concerns regarding how it was shining into the neighbor's property. So we had proposed and worked with her on some changes to our existing facility. And then you guys also asked us to bring back some information on the lighting that we were going to use to make sure that it met that recommendation from Tompkins County regarding environmentally friendly lights. So we've given you guys all that information. So any questions? And if there's anything specific that you guys need answered, I can certainly call on my team on Zoom if they're not here about the design.
Any questions on,
And this is a public hearing, so. do
this is
we
a public
take-
hearing.
First, take their
Yeah,
comment?
yeah, let's get the public hearing first, so thank you. And then after the public speaks, you probably want to give a response. So I'm inviting members of the public to step forward to give comment, Cuyahoga Addiction Recovery Services Expansion Project. Don't want to all come forward at once. Yeah. I'm gonna keep the public hearing open, but invite members of the board to discuss or ask questions.
The only question I have is, the land is in two different counties. Was the other county informed?
Yeah,
It was, okay, yeah, 'cause I saw it in the rules that you have to inform the other.
yeah.
That was my question, that's it,
And there's also the deed restriction that they need to maintain
yeah.
that land as well.
I'll just comment. So we've been actually working on this for some time. And I appreciate that you guys have actually dealt with all the different issues we brought up. You dealt with the stream buffer that was overlooked originally. You complied with the request to make it a 500-year storm, related stormwater management. Wasn't here last time, but I was very pleased to hear that you responded to Ms. McGuire's concerns about lighting wholeheartedly, and even are, continuing to make sure that these don't become problems for the neighbors. That's what the intent of all this. So I feel like we've made really great headway since this project started, and I appreciate you and your team having really worked at it.
Yeah, likewise. I think you've been very responsive to all the questions and all the concerns that we've had, and working with the neighbors as well. If you don't mind just describing what you're planning to put in place for the lighting, like obviously there's the environmentally friendly and sort of like dark sky lighting, but in particular in regard to headlights and floodlights affecting the neighbor's property.
Sure, so I'm gonna just use this so that,
Mhm.
because I feel
Yep.
funny talking to.
Yeah. That sounds good.
So the main concern with the lights was our existing property, which happens to be, and I'm sorry that I my back is this facility here. And so we have neighbors down in this area. So we are actually proposing, we've already corrected one of the lights that was aimed in a direction that shined into her windows. We've already adjusted that. We also are proposing that we put a fence along the front area of this parking lot right here, which will block when our staff come and go sometimes at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And so when they turn their cars on, those headlights will be that light won't go beyond the fence. And then with the new facility, what we're proposing is that we put in trees and other shrubs and things to block the lights when the staff are coming down the parking lot out into the street. And so if you guys want more specifics on that, I can actually call on Ivan from FFAE to give you more details. He can speak to this way more intelligently than I can.
Oh,
The only question I would have is if you're using shrubs and things, that's gonna take a little while for them to grow.
is that a question for Ivan?
Yeah, Ivan, do you wanna, I don't know if you can hear me, but Ivan, can you pop in on this?
I mean, it's a good idea. It's an attractive idea.
Sure. Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Ivan Garcia with Fontanese, Fultz, Holbrook, Ernst Architects. And I'm also going to ask Kristen a little bit more about the specificity of landscaping, but in particular, we're looking, if you're looking at the board, you're looking at the areas that have the annotation number 2 adjacent to it. And those groupings of, they're actually more than shrubs. They're actually coniferous vegetative buffers. And we would be specifying something greater than a 2.5-inch caliper to try and get, they're not saplings, they're actually maturing specimens of those type of trees, and they would be of the vertical quality. So therefore, we would hope to get something in the 4 to 5 foot range at least to start. So that is the overall intent, and for specificity on that, I'm sure Kristen can give species and so forth, or ideas of what we would be planting on that.
Yeah, I'm here, Ivan, if you want me to jump in at any time, but you've done a great job.
Okay. So I don't know if you need any further specifics other than that.
But they're conifers, yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah.
I guess my other question was, can you just tell me what kind of fence, what's the material that the fence is made of? Like, is it, is it a solid fence? Is it a slat fence? What?
I'm gonna let Ivan answer
Alright.
that as well. Did you hear the question, Ivan?
Yes, I did. The fence that's proposed for the southern edge of the existing parking lot in front of the 60 bed is wanting to be a 4-foot tall fence. So it definitely makes sure that it covers the entirety even of a pickup truck headlight, for example. And it wants to be most likely it'll be a dog-eared a wooden fence, not necessarily with great slats in between them. If anything, it might be 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch spacing between the 1x4 boards, wood boards.
Okay. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, any other questions for the applicant? And we've certainly had extensive time to speak with them and request,
I'm just a regular town person here, and I just wanted to say that I think, you guys need to go about 25 more of those buildings out there. I mean, that's the only way we're gonna get rid of the drug problem here in Tompkins County is by having more facilities for people to go to. And I seriously just drove by there today and said, trying to be more of this here. So I'm happy you guys are responding to that. I think that's great.
and for the record, would you please state your name and your address?
My name is Sue Sappington and I live on Curry Road in Schumansburg.
Great, all right, thank you. Have board members had a chance to review this resolution?
Now.
You are now. Let's take 5 minutes to review this resolution, because I'd like to be able to view it thoroughly. I'd like to look over it again.
We have to ask the 3 in red. I mean, because we don't recall a separate discussing that.
It's not a code requirement. And then I would discuss it.
That I can recall,
I think those would be omitted.
just omit them. Okay.
Oh, number 22, 23, and 24.
Yeah, that's not a.
They're not requirements. So I would accept a motion to omit 22, 23, and 24.
You can actually leave them in there, because it's not a code requirement, there's no reason to remove it.
But it does say will be oriented.
Yeah, the 22, because we don't know that. Yeah.
So,
So
really, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference.
it's a,
Building will be oriented, well, if you remove 22, but.
so
And 23, because it's another.
they're all three about, no, all three are about, those two are about the solar
Yeah.
capacity of the building itself.
Quiet, please. Quiet. We're trying to have discussion. Thank you very much.
So,
So do you want to get rid of all
no,
three?
wait, before we do it, I'm not done with that. So I actually.
Excuse me. I need the room to be quiet. We're trying to have discussion. Thank you. Yeah, Rebecca.
So, given the shortness of, I mean, we've been working with them for a long time, and it's not really appropriate at this time to the last minute, oh, and we want you to, because that would totally change development of the building and everything. I would like to recommend that we consider this for future projects, so like now EU is starting to, European Union is now suggesting that be a requirement for all new building structures. I mean, given the issues with climate change and global emissions, so it's definitely something worth talking about as a future
Yeah,
suggestion.
yeah.
But I don't think it's appropriate to, at least for number 22 and 23, to try and impose that this time. So I would agree to amend that.
I agree. And what do you think of that one?
No, yeah, that's fine. I actually take 24 also, but it doesn't really make a difference because there's no neighbors involved in that.
Yeah, so
But if
22.
you want to take 22, 23, I'll make a motion to take 22, 23, 24 out.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Oh,
That's a good point.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I would accept a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Second,
All
yeah.
right, any discussion? All in favor?
I,
It's a little warm in here. We're not.
It is a little warm. Appreciate it.
So,
Yes, yes. All right,
all right, so do we complete that motion to?
yes.
strike those three?
So, but we just did, all right, so.
I have
Yeah.
a change or a comment
uh,
before we vote on the resolution. So number 5. Ordered, said on June 6th, considered the amended proposal and determined that no substantive changes were proposed on the project, no substantive new information was discovered, and no well, that's not technically correct, right? 'Cause
Right.
when they proposed it to us, we actually said you have not dealt with the stream side buffer and you have not dealt with the stormwater issues and the illumination issue is also one of the requirements. So technically, new information was provided in response to our, you can change the wording to say
Good.
something to that effect.
right,
If I'm interpreting that number 5
Yeah.
wording correctly.
I mean, because number 5 is about upholding the previous negative determination on the seeker.
And that's specific to that.
That was specific to the stream buffer as
Okay.
well.
All right, so that's just about the
Okay.
seeker, although it doesn't,
It is just about the seeker.
okay, I'm fine with
My
that
reading
then.
of it.
Okay, keep it.
All right. Any other discussion on the amendments?
You still have a motion.
Yes, so all in favor of approving planning board resolution number 2023-015. With numbers 22, 23, and 24 in reference to passive and active solar collection being struck from the amendment.
Well, make the motion.
Okay,
All right, you can make the second.
second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, thank you very much. You guys have been great.
Yeah, thank you all for a long time and working hard at it. Thank you.
All right.
I think the guy that gets to make sure that the roles, that's where the roles like that.
Okay, as, okay,
You could take it.
Just make a statement.
Oh.
Oh,
This may be important enough that you run, you have.
yeah. So I mean, is it enough, I think, is it enough to say, oh, you know,
Yeah.
each of us and name us?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, typically that's the way
That's fine.
our notes read, is who voted yes and who voted no. Um, All right, that brings us to the Innitiganic Falls Hotel Development District proposal. Tonight is a public hearing. I'll give a brief introduction and then I'll allow the applicant to introduce their project. And then we'll take public comments. And there are a few more chairs in here. I see two more open chairs if folks in the hallway would like to come in. We got one more chair back here.
You can't open the door.
You can't open the door, why not?
It'll unplug me and I won't have my computer.
Oh. How many people are in the hall that would like a chair? We can get more chairs, yes.
You're really strong.
6. What do you say we move this forward and make another one?
Yeah, or we sit back there.
Oh, no, that's too much,
Little chairs from somewhere.
So, we're gonna make it.
Any upstairs?
Are you earlier gonna sit back, see.
Those way too heavy chairs. definitely.
So
Way
lift
too
it
heavy
over.
chairs, yeah.
Yeah. That's what they say.
I think they have some out there.
Wow. I think we're going to.
You can hand that one out.
Oh, they're happy.
That one's too heavy.
Oh, you ready for this one? Let's get it.
Oh, you're gonna bring it this way or that way?
Bring it this way.
Wait a minute, let me get that one.
Press the one.
Whoa,
So, yeah. Anybody else? We have enough chairs.
else? That one.
I agree with you. Fields, I'm gonna move this as a top lead. I haven't even crammed it. Good suggestion. All right.
Oh, and there's one over there.
We got. All right, we have 3 chairs right in here. Come on in. All right. So I'm gonna give a brief introduction. Jason Demarest, on behalf of the property owner, TFI Land Co. LLC, proposes to create a new development district to modify some of the existing zoning regulations of the current B1 zone. The proposal would facilitate development of the subject site to include construction of a multi-purpose hotel with 75 plus or minus guest rooms, spa, fitness center, and an event space with a commercial kitchen. The board previously discussed the proposal during its meetings on July 18th, 2023, and on August 15th, 2023. On August 15th, the board gave direction to notice a hearing for September 5th, 2023. This is a request by the applicant for the town to make a development district. So it's a modification of the existing zoning is what's being asked for. That is a decision that the town board has to make. The town board has asked us to provide our opinion and to gather information on it. And as part of that information gathering, and is forming our recommendation to the town board, we asked for public hearing tonight. Also asked for a number of other things from the applicant, such as traffic study, stormwater plan, and the like. So as this is our first public hearing on the matter, I would like to invite the applicant to come forward and talk about their project. And I understand, what's that?
Jason's on the phone.
Jason?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Jason,
I'm gonna share a screen.
And so folks, you're gonna have to turn around because this room's set up funny. Hey, Jason, if you could just identify your role in the project, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep, I'm the architect for the project. Looks like screen sharing needs to be.
Yep, we're on it.
Yep. Okay. Give it a second, it's loading. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is already. I'm trying to see it. Jason, it is a little difficult to see from here. If you could maximize your
There you
screen.
go. That's better.
Yeah, this is stuff we've seen, Rebecca.
Yeah, this is an excerpt from the narrative that was submitted. So for the sake of the public tonight, and just to be clear on what's occurring, and Pete, you explained, we're here for a development district. I just wanted to go through and explain specifically what we're asking, and tie it back to some of the discussion we've had lately. So anyway, this bullet list, like I said, was in the narrative. Primarily, we're here to increase the building size and height. And what we're trying to do is go up some additional stories and allow a larger single building to house the hotel operation, which would be much more successful in a singular building. Zoning does allow multiple buildings across the site, but they're limited to 20,000 square feet in size. And then height is pretty limited. You could maybe get 2.5 stories in a building with the height limit. And what that does is it spreads the buildings across the site, which limits the site for other opportunities, some open space opportunities, parking, things like stormwater management, sewage treatment facilities. The site is needed for some of these other technical requirements. However, all the technical elements of this project exist whether the zoning stays or the zoning changes. It reconfigures the form. Unlike most development districts, which are looking for a permitted use change, these uses are allowed as of right currently. We just believe we could make a much nicer project with a single building that's a little bit taller and has a strong architectural identity. And so we will be back to the planning board through site plan review, but we're trying to lay down the ground rules with the town board for the zoning parameters within which we can design. And then we'll come back and we'll deal with sewage and water and stormwater and traffic and noise and things like that. But none of those elements are really germane to what we're talking about. Unless someone could argue that a taller building as opposed to a wider building or multiple buildings changes in some way, which I don't see or understand, or multiple buildings with a space between it, how is that any different than a larger building that exceeds the 20,000 square foot limit? So I just wanted to reframe why we're here. And Pete, as you mentioned, we will eventually go to the decision makers at the town board. And just a couple other things in the zoning change that we're requesting here. A little bit of relief on setbacks along Gorge Road, since the Innet Taganic properties span across the road. There are no neighbors impacted by those setbacks. The inn is its own neighbor. And then permitted uses, that was something we wanted to take some of the more environmentally hazardous uses. What's that?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay. And we wanted to take some of the more hazardous permitted uses off the list in the rewrite of this zoning. So dry cleaners, gasoline stations, self-service storage facilities, which aren't necessarily very attractive. And all those can have more serious hazardous or environmental issues. So we were going to take those away. And then in the narrative, it isn't noted here, but it's in some of the submission already presented. We're also looking to reduce the lot coverage, which is allowed at 70% right now, and to bring that down quite a bit. And that's a trade-off to let us go up a little bit taller. So that's the overview of why we're here. You know, and again, just to reiterate, we're not here to debate the hotel use and how it functions and what its impact is. We're talking about the bulk of the building, you know, the height, the size of the building. And so let me move on. One thing that was requested last time was a little bit more context and some topography. So I submitted this map. You should have that in your packet. You know, it's from the county mapping website. And the darker green here, that's the unique natural area that is the Taganic Falls State Park. The falls are way up in the left-hand corner here, probably almost a mile from the project site. The project site's in the yellow here. And then I did note, you know, the project site's at the 460 contour interval, and then the residential parcels up on Will Creek Road are at the 680 contour. So there's quite a bit of topographic change, elevation change between those neighbors above. Again, and that has to do with thinking about the height of the project. And the site section was submitted last time to help clarify some of that a little bit more closer in scale. And then you can see this lighter green that is technically west and a little south of the site. That's all state park land, but our understanding is the park is not going to turn it into a campground. It's not going to build trails. It's just preserved land, which is a good thing. So we're surrounded by that, and it creates a backdrop and a isolation for the project. So another element that was requested was, you know, we don't have a design for the building, but I just wanted to give it a little bit more detail than the Monopoly Hotel concept, which was more about just bulk mass. And when you do put windows in a building, it tends to soften the larger glazed element that you see here. And again, the design could change dramatically. It could even drop a whole story. Who knows at this point? But it does soften what felt like, I think, in the earlier renderings presented last time as a you know, a larger wall, or I think it was more difficult for people to relate. So I just wanted to show that. And then some new materials that I wanted to present here. I took the concept model, which is shown in the background here, and that's this whitish gray. And then the red is a simple zoning compliant rendition of the hotel use that meets the height and the individual building size. So you actually see right here 3 buildings, and then there's a 4th one, and I'll show you that in a moment back there. But I thought this was an interesting representation that says, yes, we are going taller, but we're stopping short here, and we're stopping a little bit short here, and we don't include this other building. So let me show you that. Sorry, first one, the red with a little bit of purple, which overlaps the blue of what we proposed, is shown here. So those 1, 2, 3 structures that are at the zoning compliant height and building size in the previous rendering are those. And then I just stuck another structure over in the end here. It doesn't necessarily work as a site plan, but those 4 red buildings equate to the same square footage as the blue building. So that's how I was arriving at all of that. And then so here's the view from the road again. And there's that zoning compliant view. I had omitted some trees in the previous rendering, and technically I think there are even a few more trees that screen this roadside. So anyway, I think you hopefully can see, and people can see, that a singular building can actually take on a much greater architectural identity than a series of buildings. It doesn't mean we couldn't create an identity with one of these more than the others, but once it gets spread out, I think it loses impact. And again, it impacts open space on the site, and other opportunities. You know, like we had some pickleball courts that we were hoping to put in, and everything becomes compromised when we have to spread out. And then, whoops. So now here I am up on Gorge Road. Here's the hotel concept with the extra stories and the larger singular building. And then if we were to add that 4th building to equate to the same square footage that we believe we need programmatically to achieve that 75 rooms and other support spaces, this is the kind of thing that could happen, where we might have to front a building on Gorge Road, and it felt a lot nicer to have a setback there. Route 89, and honestly, when you look at this project along the road, most people are going to zip right by. They might notice very quickly out of the corner of their eye, look at that building, and hopefully there's some interest and intrigue. And this building will be a community asset. The Great Room will be a space for everyone in the community to come and enjoy various features, you know, such as Burger Nights on Tuesday, which has been a great hit. But it's Route 89, and then over the hill is behind us in this view here is a drop off, and then the lake and dense trees. And you saw that all last time. So anyway, I think that was it for the presentation. I just wanted to reframe everything a little bit and show you a little bit more of the character of the building and how it compared to what would be allowed by zoning currently. You know, again, just a minor shift in what zoning allows is really what we're asking for.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Yep.
So at this time, I'd like to invite members of the public to come forward, and I'm going to provide a 3-minute timer, and I'll give you a 1-minute update when you have a minute left. And as you come forward, either come forward or stand up. Since we don't have a microphone, actually, it'd probably be better if you just stood up where you are, and identified your name and your address for the record. And if you have trouble standing for 3 minutes, then just raise your hand, okay? And I wanted to let you know that all of your comments are being recorded. So this is a recorded meeting, and they're also being written in the notes. So I'm going to be listening and looking at you. I may jot down some notes, but your words are being recorded in our notes and in the record.
If they have a hard copy.
Yeah. And if you have a hard copy, if you brought a statement to read, I would ask that you please provide us with a copy of that after you read your statement. So I'm going to set up my timer here, and we will get started.
Hey, Pete, sorry, there's someone waiting to be admitted. I think you should take the host back.
Can you make me the host? I had to make you the host to share your screen.
Okay.
And Jason, after the public comment, if you or another member of your team would like, could also give you 3 minutes to respond.
Okay.
So
yeah, how do I
just
host?
for the after the whole public comment period, not every comment.
Yeah.
Wait till the end of the greater public comment period.
On the top right corner of our frame, can you just push make those? I didn't have the option to make your host.
Well, they're figuring that, can I
Yeah, we
speak?
can-
Or so I just want to sort of put things, because zoning is complicated and, you know, the folks of Ulysses are like highly educated people and can understand these things very well, but I'm just gonna say this for the sake of understanding. The use that they're applying for is what they're applying for is not permission to build a hotel. Like, that is incorporated within the existing use of that property. It's to build a structure that is taller and exceeds square footage within a single structure. So that's just to clarify, that's what they're asking for.
Along with the setbacks and some
Along,
setbacks.
yeah, along with the change to some of the setbacks. Yeah,
Right, so is it a variance in the current zoning that they're asking for, or is it a change of zoning?
they're asking for enough changes to the zoning that they want what's called a development district. It's basically saying, for this area, we're gonna make, we're gonna change X, Y, and Z. And in this case, it's being able to make the building taller and larger. But also reducing the amount of lot coverage. So currently, they could do, I think it's like a 70% lot coverage. They're asking to have a smaller lot coverage, but a higher profile.
Yeah, they're changing it from a business, it is a business district right now. They want to change it to a development district.
Right.
It is a business district at the present time, and they want to change it to a development district. That's the difference.
And what difference does that make?
What Pete just said, they want to change the height of the building in a business district that has to be, I think, 31 or 32 feet.
Okay,
Okay, we're back.
And they want to increase the height.
right, okay.
But they also wanna make the setbacks smaller, so
Right.
basically effectively increasing how much space they have to work with, so they're not. If they use all that, like 60%, well, you actually got more space than you had
Yeah.
before, so you'd have to do the math and
Yeah.
figure out, are they really
Yeah.
reducing their lot coverage if we let them have the setbacks?
I think we're getting into discussion now,
yeah,
so I'd
yeah,
like to
sorry about
begin the public hearing. And who would like to stand up and speak to the board?
I have a prepared statement, but I have to comment what Jason said. I live directly across from the development, and it has already impacted life there tremendously. My husband bought the property in 1984 for a nice scenic.
Could you say your name and your address?
Over 1709 Gigantic Boulevard.
Thank you.
And the quality of life has changed, and the effect on the parks and the whole surrounding areas already different. So I can't imagine what it would be like with this enhanced expansion. It would just be unbearable. I mean, we didn't move there to have a big convention center. And we pass there on Saturday nights right now, when the music is blaring. We can't control the music. The fire, I feel like I'm being bombed when the fireworks come. And it's just hopping every weekend. And I just can't imagine the expansion, which has been unbelievable. But I have a statement of, and I was addressing the quality of life, the safety, and the property value. So I'll read what I got. My neighbors and I are owners of the residential property here in Ulysses. We live in Ulysses, which we acquired under very different circumstances, and the town of Ulysses has begun to tolerate here in our community. We are taxpayers and voters. We also have property and other rights, which I have every reason to expect the town of Ulysses to uphold and protect. I'm here because I'm concerned about our rights and at the severe risk of not being adequately protected. For instance, when we had the fireworks, there were 12 people in my driveway watching fireworks for the fun. The traffic backed up 2 miles, and if we needed an emergency vehicle, it couldn't have gotten through at all. So the safety right now is an issue. The property value, the traffic and noise generated by the inn has already threatened the value of our property. And the large scale development, sewage and runoff would repair our source of drinking water and worsen the existing noise and traffic issues. Approval of the new development will have the effect of diminishing our property value as well as those of others around us.
1 minute.
Okay, for safety,
As it now operates, the Inn Orland currently hosts dozens of large weddings. Often these weddings include large-scale fireworks, which are fired off directly across from my house. Since the town permitted the cutting down of all the trees that line that property, now it's completely open, and I wonder about the safety of sparks would fly in the dry brush on the property. I think it happens our ability to get out during those events as well. And the quality of life, the volume and hours of music at the end during weddings and other events is unreasonable. In fact, I know some people who were at the 4th of July and they left the park because there was so much noise, and that was during the day.
And ma'am, the 3 minutes is up to you. Need just a couple more seconds, like 10 seconds to finish up. And then if you could provide us the copy of that, then we can incorporate that into the record as well. Who would like to speak next? Yeah, and please stand up, state your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Sue Sappington, I live on Prairie Road in Schultzburg. I've worked at Organic Farms now for the past 3 years, doing their events, and I can say wholeheartedly that Carl cares about the community and he cares about the employees that work there. We're all paid a fair living wage. And I mean, I know that the noise can get loud, but I've worked there for 3 years and I've never seen traffic jams. I've never seen people have a hard time getting out onto the main road. I've worked there, I've seen it. I worked there last weekend and I never saw it. So I don't know what you're complaining about as far as traffic goes. I mean, they have somebody out there directing traffic all the time.
Let her speak, let her speak. We're gonna let her speak, folks. Thank you. So you have longer if you needed to speak longer.
If everyone could please allow people to say what they have to say without booing and hissing, because we opportunity and we should be fair about it, regardless if we approve of it or not. We need to be respectful of each other.
Thank you, thank you. Here. All right, who'd like to speak next?
I'm Cindy Michael, I live on Prairie City Road. I also have worked at the Inn for the last 3 years. And I have to say that I agree with what Sue was saying, that Carl does really care about the community. And he
beautiful structure that I think Jason is envisioning for the large sightline across the lake. I'm just wondering how that's going to impact future development when we for the choices we're going to make in the near future around this idea. Not particularly having an opinion about that, just more of what does that impact, just thinking forward and how we're going to set potential opportunities for other developments, similar scale. To use this as a reference, a point of reference for justifying more of the development. Change is inevitable, right? And hopefully we will all do it in a way that is considerate of the needs of the community. And I would ask that, in that spirit, if this does, however this proceeds, that the folks in the community could be, and I think it's already happening with the Tuesday hamburger event, which is successful. I hope that they will also offer a day pass to the community, to the spa, so that we can also be connected and to the amenities of this kind of thing and not feel ostracized or put off by high-paying folks that are coming in to generate revenue, which I also think is not a bad thing. But just hope that this will be, however this works out, that it will engage and connect the community as something as part of the community as well.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Nancy Cool. I live at 1695 Titanic, and I wasn't gonna speak, except when you mentioned about, the inn caring about. I've asked on several occasions, can you let me know when there's fireworks? Because I can drug my dog beforehand. Otherwise, I've had my dog having seizures because no one has contacted me. I've gone to the inn, I've left word, I've done. So I feel like maybe the inn could care a little more.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have a lot written, I'll try to read. My name is Durga Hora. I live at 7580 Willow Creek Road, and it seems that everybody in favor of this doesn't live there. They live in Perry City or Perry Road. And it can only get worse with the noise. And as far as like the fireworks harming animals, it harms a lot of animals. Birds can die of a heart attack. I'm a wildlife rehabilitator. I know this. And not only that, if you care for the community, on Sunday, I went several times to the park because I had guests from out of town, my cousins. And there were two large, huge buses taking up the whole lane going down to Taganic. And I had to swerve around them in the left lane and then come back. And I did that. We walked the gorge, we came back, we did it to go up. Well, going up, I didn't have to go, So then on my way back down by myself, so I could go for a swim, I went to the left and I just cleared it, the buses, and went back, and 3 motorcyclists came right up that blind curve, that hill. And if it was timed differently, they would have smashed right into me. Now, how does taking up a whole lane of Gorge Road for well more than an hour, it must have been 2 or 3 hours, how is that caring for the community? And if, I mean, we aren't gonna stop the building, that's clear. It's either gonna be long or it's gonna be tall. And if it's tall and there's still property there, what's gonna end up on that property? That's another question, more possibilities to build. And the traffic is horrible. It's horrible. I mean, Sunday they closed down. It was horrible. And it was Sunday that there were so many cars parked all over from the wedding at the inn. The noise is horrible. My cousins had dinner on our deck. We couldn't have a conversation. We could sing along to rock and roll classic hits, and I could understand every single word. I mean, this is not a good thing for the people who live there because we want peace and quiet and a peace of mind. And I'm very emotional about this. I'm very emotional about what it's doing to the wildlife. All the trucks and everything that are going to deliver linen and food and supplies and everything that a hotel needs, they're going to have to blast. I know if they're going to put an underground parking lot, this place is solid bedrock. My septic tank goes up in the air like that. It ruined my landscape because it's solid bedrock. So the implications, they aren't neighborhood friendly and they aren't caring.
Thank you. No, I'm sorry. We're just gonna have one comment from each person. Thank you. And then at the end, after we've had a chance to discuss, then we'll allow for another public comment. So you could save your comment until then. And sir, I think you had your hand up next.
Yes.
All right.
My name is Hugh Bohr, and I live very close to the inn at the kind of 7580 Willow Creek Road. Well, I've been listening to 2 meetings. It seems a lost case, and it will certainly divide the community. Be aware of it. As I said a couple of weeks ago, In the plans that were presented by the inn, there is no mention of the residents and the neighborhood. Whatever people say, if you work there, there's another story. If you live there, it's another story. For obvious reasons, we are very concerned about what is going on there now and what is being planned. Okay, as it is, the sound pollution generated by the bands that are hired for weddings at the inn frequently reaches an unbearable level. It has been said, and it has to be repeated. Imagine what the nuisance will be when this happens 150 times a year. And that is the planning. It will be impossible to live there. The fireworks are even worse when you live close to the inn, particularly for animals. And I said that already, it should be regarded as a form of animal abuse. When we call the inn management and request them to turn down the music, they may do so for a while, but then the sound rises again. This proves that it is not true what some of the people are saying. The management of the inn has no consideration for the residents and for the neighborhood. They really don't care and don't stick to the rules. They are slowly but surely taking over the neighborhood. So regarding the creation of a DD, a development district, and modifying some of the existing zoning regulations of the current B1 zone, I strongly recommend the board to take the complaints of the people living close to the inn into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I also live on, my name is Sally Yates. I live at 7520 Willow Creek Road. And I also, well, we're neighbors. And my main concern is not so much about the proposed building, but more about the impact of the noise that comes from the events of the inn at Taghanic. If the inn is designated as a development district, I fear the increased activity in the inn will generate bigger and louder events there. So I'd like this topic to be part of the discussion by the board when they make their plans. During these board meetings, I've heard remarks to the effect that there's no one right next to the inn's property. Actually, there's a whole neighborhood up the hill on Willow Creek Road that's directly impacted by the activity at the inn. Currently, the music from the inn's outdoors events at night is often very loud, nearly every weekend for 6 months out of the year, every weekend. It interferes with our lives. For example, having a nice dinner with friends on the deck with unsolicited amplified music going on. Over the past 3 years, my request that they turn down the music have fallen on deaf ears, and the volume has never been turned down for me, except for this past weekend when they did actually turn it down to an acceptable level, at least for a while. I'm not an expert in the law, but I see under the town code, under zoning article 20, design standards, Part B, noise number 3 lays out the decibel limits for the noise generated by the property's usage. And I know you know all, but that's about the 90 decibels on the boundary. The staff at the inn are focused on the legal decibel limit, and I have to say that they appear to be following that regulation. However, decibels don't tell the whole story. The code also says in the same article under noise number 2, noise from any source shall be muffled so as not to become objectionable due to sustained intermittence, beat, frequency, tone, pitch, or intensity that repeatedly exceeds 2 hours during daylight and 30 minutes at night. This part of the code is not being followed by the inn, as their music repeatedly goes on for more than 2-3 hours at night and is not muffled. They tell me that they've taken measures such as putting up plywood barriers and tent walls and reflective balls, but these are not sufficient to muffle the music at the volume that's being played there. They also have decreased the subwoofer bass notes in the music, which does help, but still the music is too loud. That's the current situation here. Finally, with a less restrictive development district designation and with more people involved in the inn's activities, I worry that the current noise regulations will be even less effective than they are now. And I hope that restricting the noise levels would be part of the new zoning if it were approved. This is only one aspect of the potential impacts from the proposed project, but I'm hoping that the board will take this into careful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, right in the back there.
Hi, I'm Dale Strock, 1683 Tagatic. I'm one of the 7 houses that I would say are direct neighbors of the Tagatic. I understood, I may not have all the facts here, but that Carl wanted to build more of a sound barrier in the past when the enchantment thing was built. And the government or somebody who, some board decided, no, you can't build. You have to build a plywood one or whatever. I would like to get as much sound protection as is possible. I live towards the water. You guys live up the hill. That's not gonna help you if it's down my way. I don't know the answer. I'm saying that government should not stand in the way. There should be the best sound protection possible. There will be a hotel there, no matter what. It's already approved. He will have events. My understanding, well, I'm assuming a big Adirondack hotel will have more indoor events in a beautiful high ceiling event space. Great. That's not the same as the parties that are out on the enchantment that we all hear every word of. I would like to have peace and quiet. I would like to choose my own music now and then. But I understand the hotel will have more indoor events. I don't know how much the encampment is gonna be more active. So more sound barrier. I also care about the traffic. It's too fast. I would like Ulysses to fight with, to urge the state to do something about the speed limit, to do something about the signage. There are electronic signs that tell you when you're going too fast. Having a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit in front of my house, in front of some of our houses, to get out out of our own driveway at a 55-mile-an-hour, and they're speeding these cars, is crazy. It needs to slow down. It needs to be 30 miles an hour at the park, not 40. It needs to have some signage telling you, slow down, everybody. That will help a little. My only other issue I want to say quickly is environmental. And yes, that's not the topic tonight, but down the road, I care about the water usage, the water treatment, and the sewage system. And I know Carl's got big plans and he's working on that, but that's also our lifeblood. We can't live there if we don't have water. If the lake gets ruined, that's bad for Carl and it's bad for us. Let's not ruin the lake. Let's figure this out. It has, how do you get enough water for a 100-room hotel and the sewage system that will work? That's my worries for the future. I know that's not on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next? Go ahead.
I also have a public letter of support that was emailed in that I can submit.
Sure.
I wasn't sure of the submission process.
Yeah, so those go into the record and we review them, they get sent to all of us. Go ahead.
Well, before I start, I guess Stephanie Monroe, 2031 Gorge Road. What's your name? Stephanie Monroe. Sorry, Stephanie Monroe. Thank you. And Nancy, I will connect with you because I do have your email address. I know cool at yahoo.com on the fireworks list. So if we're going to your junk folder, we can figure that out.
It's not in my junk.
Okay, well, I'd like you to look at the list so we can confirm that I have your address correct. So I think you're gonna hear a variety of different opinions and details tonight, and I'd like to offer you another facet of that as well. And a facet that I think is important to think about. So my name is Stephanie Monroe, and I'm the Director of Sales and Events at the Inn at Sandy Falls. I joined the property 2 glorious months before COVID. I have worn many hats at the inn as a result. I've run the hotel, the restaurant, our marketing, our community outreach, and I've reluctantly been the frizzy-haired person that the news has interviewed twice when they've come to the property. I'm almost always my face that you see associated with this business, and it's my name that you read in press releases, social media, and articles about our happenings. I want to take a moment to give you in a nutshell who I am because you see my face. I'm an '09 graduate of Watkins High School. I'm the daughter of Hector originally. I was vice chair of the Schuyler County Democratic Committee. I was briefly a member of the Montour Falls Planning Board before I moved to T-Burg. I'm a volunteer with animal groups. I'm a Rotarian. I'm a quintessential old cat lady. I have celiac disease. I buy produce at local farms. I watch too many Japanese cartoons. And believe it or not, I buy too many shoes at thrift stores. Why do I want to introduce myself to you? I understand that what we're doing here today is asking for a positive opinion to be returned to the town board, which in turn is not an approval of the building plan, but is the approval to design the building plan. I will be back in the near future with the team presenting the actual building plan. However, I find that it's important that yourselves and members of the public be aware of who the stewards are who are working diligently and with respect on this project. In articles and on social media, I see people pick apart Carl and our transition. I see them reduce Carl to a few lines about his movie career, his perceived economic status, and assumptions about his mindset and plans. I find it important to give you a face that you can see clearly, that you can know by asking the friend of a friend about me. On behalf of the 125 full and part-time employees at the Inn at Saganic Falls, I remind you that we are your sons and your daughters, your neighbors, your alumni, and we take our support for this final piece of the inn incredibly seriously and offer our work and our plans to you with respect. As part of this team, I assure you that we will all steward this property with the utmost reverence until it passes from us to who comes next. I've seen this business do wonderful things for and to this community without an expectation of thanks, and I hope to see that continue. I've seen this business throw a 4th of July party that allows our entire town and village to come together. I've seen this business shelter doctors and nurses during the return from New York City during COVID in 2020. I've seen this business donate to local groups, service organizations, and charities. I've seen this business create and think of ways to support the school and student-based organizations. I'm going to see this business cement its own legacy, finally becoming self-sufficient. And in this path, I will see it become an integral part of Trumansburg and Ulysses. We will be one of the prides of this town. And that is what I swear to you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Great. And who would like to speak next? Go ahead.
I'm Judy Abrams. I live at 1679 Gannett Boulevard. It's one of the first 7 houses. And I was very impressed with the car's presentation that they were actually worried that the lights from the cars driving in and out at night would upset the neighbors. And they're talking about the neighbors here, but they set up a very adversarial relationship with the neighbors. They don't care about making loud noises or music or lights. Why do we have to have fireworks? It obviously bothers all the neighbors, and we have to have them at weddings now. That's a given thing. We have to have fireworks. I just don't think that they speak to the neighbors and really ask the neighbors what they want. Just warning neighbors there's going to be fireworks is not outreach of the neighbors. It's just warning them about even worse things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, back there. Thank you.
My name is Gigi McTaggart. I moved here from California.
Could you speak up just a little bit? Thank you.
I moved here from California.
And your address?
Falls Road.
Could I get your full address? Thank you.
86. 84.
Thank you.
Okay. I am a Trumansburg. I live here now. I have moved 3,000 miles to come and help Carl with his business. Okay, so yes, I am an employee. I'm one of the event planners. So when I'm hearing all these things, I just wanted to kind of rebuttal that we do. I'm an event planner. At a certain time where I'm listening, look at my decibel, yes, I go and I talk to them and I let them know it's time to put it down. So I do that as an event planner, as my job. And I do want you to know that Colonel does think about all these things. And he tries in so many ways to get people in place. It's a learning process as well. It's not something that just automatically knows, oh, we need more people for traffic. Okay, let's put those more people in. So he is gradually getting to where the point where it's just running more smoothly and all that kind of stuff. He definitely thinks about you all. He really does. So it's
one at a time, please. One at a time. So Judy, yeah, so it's her turn to talk. Thank you very much.
let everybody else speak. This is me, and I would like my word. So, and Mrs. Yates, thank you for understanding that we do a lot of, the things that we are supposed to do, and thank you for acknowledging that. Because we do.
Thank you. And go ahead. Yes.
Hi, my name is Vivian Rose. I live at 104, if you could, I live at 104 Pennsylvania Avenue, New York, 14886. And I want to refocus us back on what the job of the planning board is, which is under our comprehensive plan and our zoning. Make a recommendation to either approve this to the board, the town board, to approve it with conditions, or to not approve it. And as, I am going to go through some reasons why I think that the board should recommend disapproval of this to the town board. The first is that I want to focus us all on what the comprehensive plan says. You can pick out the parts that approve, that support what you think it should say. But what it actually says in its comprehensive plan vision statement is, we will strive to effectively balance future growth with the conservation of key community assets through proactive planning in a manner that benefits all residents both today and in the future. It also says, the vision statement is a general statement developed by the town about the future of the community. It is the end toward which all policies, objectives, and actions are named, which includes the current zoning. In the survey that informed that plan, which took 10 years to do, 93% of the respondents to the survey indicated that the most important single identifying feature of our community is Teganic Falls and Teganic Falls State Park. And the proposed place is entirely within the state park. If you're wondering why there's not a sound barrier, it's because the embankment for the budding enchantment garden is right on the state park boundary. There is no setback. It is right there. That lawn you see fronting 89, that's state park. It does not belong to Teganic Farms Inn. As you can see, if you look at the zoning maps on the wall. Or I have one in page 3. Or if you have one on the device, you can look it up. Well, so for a variety of reasons, I don't think that this proposal merits approval or with conditions. Because TFI Lanco already fails to meet the purpose of the B1 existing zoning, which is, and I quote from the comprehensive plan, to provide opportunities for neighborhood scale retail commercial development to serve the needs of local residents. It is already entirely within the PR zoning and across the street from Lakeshore zoning. And the proposed rezoning will not serve either one of those districts. It does not meet the definition of development zone. It is entirely within a conservation zone. It seeks to recover purported lost revenue.
Vivian.
And there's more. I am happy to share this with anyone, and I'm going to give it to you as my prepared statement.
Thank you very much, and we will read it.
Thank you.
All right. And who would like to speak next? Go ahead.
I'm Virginia Augusta. I live at 2057 Trumansburg Road, which is also the Halsey House. I purchased the Halsey House coming up on 2 years. Sorry. Hi. I bought the Halsey House about just less than 2 years ago. So I'm gonna talk a little bit from a business perspective as opposed to the residential perspective. And I wouldn't say that I'm entirely in opposition of what I think Carl's trying to achieve. But I think that this particular request to change the development to a redevelopment zone circumvents what really the B1 zoning was trying to, I think, manage, which is an appropriately scaled facility that is conducive and suits the environmental setting. I think that is where my feet land on that. I feel that if the board approves this rezoning, it just allows for circumvention of some of the community inputs that are embedded in the process required for one. So that's a little bit different feeling that I have about that. I think it's fine if there's a way for him to grow his business in a way that is more, actually, I would prefer to see it more staged rather than this bombardment. I think it allows for a more gradual growth. It lets the community embrace it more than being, I think most people get their little slammed over the head with a take or leave it attitude. But again, I'm kind of new to this community, but I have been here in Ithaca for more than 30 years, so I'm not a complete stranger. I have some concerns as a new business owner for the size and scale of what is going in. I'm not sure that it's good for the local business in the ways that it's being promoted. I have concerns that we're going to have a captive audience on site that never leaves. And so the sort of other business spillover that would come to the community, I have concerns that will actually come to fruition. But again, I'm open about some growth. I have concerns about the proposal as it is.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next? Sir, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sherman Kelly. I'm Judy's husband. We live 6 houses south of Teganic Park, and we've been there 20 years or so. When we bought it, we were looking for a quiet, pastoral, bucolic country setting on a quiet lakefront. We've been coming here since 1960 to the park, a breathtakingly beautiful jewel of the Finger Lakes. And we've always loved it. We picnicked there. We've swum there. We never expected that we'd be in a development zone with some huge hotel. And we certainly didn't appreciate the idea of having loud explosions every weekend and more, scaring the hell out of our dog and out of our guests, waking us up. We don't need explosions. When did explosions become a necessary part of a wedding ceremony? I guess I'm a little old, but I don't see the need for that. It bothers the hell out of us, and we don't need that music. You can hear conversations from across the lake where we are at night, much less somebody pounding their music or their fireworks. Other than that, I like the whole idea.
Thank you.
Slowly.
Who would like to speak next? There's somebody up there. I'm gonna go with Karen and Bob. That's all I can see. Thank you. Karen and Bob.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Karen Metter. My husband is Bobby. We live at 1617 Tacanic Boulevard. And I'm very supportive of what the Inn of Tacanic Falls is doing. I share the concerns of others about noise and traffic, but that is not a primary source from Inn of Tacanic other than perhaps the fireworks, but fireworks happen all across the lake. People go out on their boats and launch fireworks. As was said, you can hear from across the lake in Lansing. So if there's concerns about, for example, traffic, and I heard a discussion about buses, that's most likely because of the state park being there. And I don't think the Inn of Tacanic should be blamed for all of these many issues. In fact, I think they should be given praise for what the new owner. And I don't know him personally. I've never met him. But I have appreciated how the property was in severe decline until it was acquired and these improvements have been done. I also agree with another person who said that it appears that the government and various other processes have interfered with what might have been even more optimal development. And I think we're overlooking the economic impact that they most certainly are bringing. I would guess they're one of the highest property tax payers in our region, and this will only increase both property and sales tax, and that will help make it more affordable for the rest of us to spread the tax burden. So, so in general, I have supported what they have done so far. Yes, there are improvements that could be done. I think a lot of the complaints that are being raised tonight are not going to be impacted by whether this hotel is approved as described. In fact, I think it would be personally even better to go higher and have more green space. I think that preserving as much of the green space and landscape is valuable. And so I think that since they're going to build anyway, as I think people need to recognize, it would be beneficial to approve what they've proposed. And in fact, if they wanted to go higher and take up less footprint, I think that might be even beneficial. But if the discussion is just about whether to approve what they've proposed, I would strongly support what has been proposed and look for ways to control noise and traffic. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Who would like to speak next? Yes, please.
My name is Dolores Higuita, 935 Bradley Street in Twinsburg. I think Leanne has done a wonderful job of building what they've built and made it a really pretty place for you to go to look at. I can't afford it, but I think it looks great. But I think we have to think about this district thing that they're wanting. I think it's a bad move. It's like, to me, it's like saying, oh, here, become your own little district and do what you want. And that's not what we want. What we want is total control as to the size of what's getting built, easements, all of that. It's very important because of where it is. It is right across from the park. There's, drainage issues, certainly water issues, sewage issues. So I think we need to look at it step by step and what they're wanting to build. And as long as they're in compliance with the railroad ordinances, the zoning is, then I think, we could get someplace with that. But I think the development district to me just sounds like a carte block here because she luck kind of thing. And so I think they really need to think hard about that. I think the district thing would just give them a bigger opportunity to do exactly the way they want to do it without clear guidance from the town. And we that live here, we came here because we were trying to let you here right now.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay, and it's not to say that we shouldn't be a hotel with stuff going wrong on the hillside. It's just, we don't want it to be Vegas. We didn't come here to live in Vegas. We came here to live in a beautiful community. And it reflects on the park. It could make issues for the park as far as parking, leaving parking, although just go to the park and park over there kind of thing. I don't know how that's controlled, but it's something that we don't want to happen. And when there are movies and events at the park. I'm hearing that that has been drowned out sometimes. Because of the parties that go on in the town. And so that needs to be straightened out. And I'm sure that, if they talk with the park regional office, they can make that work better. But I think you gotta really think about this.
Thank you very much. Who would like to speak next? I saw that hand first, gentlemen. Thank you.
My name's Joe Nikodike. I've lived in for 37 years. Live on the lake at 1993. I don't have any skin in the game. I just came up here to learn a little bit more about what's going on. But I can tell you that what these people have done to be in Atlantic is nothing short of remarkable. I think they've have done things amazingly and very tasteful in what they've done, and they put the inn back on the map. This was a dying inn that was going to be an eyesore, and what they've done is nothing short of amazing. I'm sympathetic listening to your concerns, but this issue is not going away. From what I can gather, just listening, they're doing everything they can also to make this attractive by having less of the footprint, and that sounds pretty good to me. The alternative was they can build 90, I think you said 70% of the footprint, which probably, so I think they're trying to take steps to be sympathetic to what's around here. The whole issue tonight has been about the noise and the fireworks and stuff. Perhaps maybe that's where the battle can take place, and there can be some common ground, but this is not going away. And I think it's absolutely beautiful what's been done over there. And I commend the people at the end for what they put in place here.
Thank you. All right, and who would like to speak next? Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Meredith Harris. I live at 7550 Willow Creek Road. And I've got mixed feelings. I want this I want this business to be successful, because I think a successful business will benefit everybody. There are problems. I live, on Willow Creek Road. I'm between these two neighbors, and I think we're almost a quarter of a mile from the road. So we're not lying when we say that it's noisy. I think that, compromises can be made. I don't think businesses have to be that noisy to be successful. And maybe that there are ways that compromises can be made to make people, both sides, happy. One thing I don't understand is when a developmental district is being proposed, does that give the town an opportunity to put different restrictions on that particular zone? In which case maybe noise restrictions, fireworks restrictions, etc., could be made. I do think that one entrance into Gorge Road off of is it 89, where there's a very acute angle and a very strong stone wall, is a very dangerous one, and you can't really see to the left of it, and I've just accidents waiting to happen. One of my neighbors, I asked him, he's a former volunteer of the fire department, Mr. Ford, and I don't think he's here or anything, but he told me that there was quite a few fatalities at that. I couldn't speak to that myself. Would that be the entrance to this, or would there, I think there are safer entrances that don't involve going up Willow Creek Road or Network Road. Okay. And anyway, I see the pros and cons of this developmental district. I just would like it to be successful for both neighbors and the business. And I also worry about the precedent being set for further developments and further requests of other people in the town that might want to have their own developments.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next? Yes, go ahead.
I'm Matthew Clark, 2057, Route 89, Tradesburg. I work for and am married to the owner of the Halsey House. We've invested a lot into this property. We'd like to see Taconic Inn continue to be successful, but we like to be successful. And the thought of having 75 rooms of an enclosed place with a big event hall and no reason for people to go off to do other things may not help us. So right now, this meeting is just to find out whether there's going to be like positive or negative promotion to the town board. I think it should be negative because there's a process that the candidate can go through. And that process is go through the zoning board. That's American, that's fair. That's where we can have our voices heard instead of being silenced. And as far as, being positive or negative, I wish Carl luck. I hope he brings a lot more people to the place. And I hope, we're not dwarfed by their 75 rooms that are going to be added to our little 5-room place. That's it. And Taconic Park is a jewel.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else? Yes.
My name is Michelle Bowman. I live at 6200 Podunk Road. I am the owner of Williams Insurance Agency in Jackson. I live here my entire life. I have friends that worked at the inn in its previous ownership, as cooks and bakers and many other positions, housekeeping, the whole 9 yards. I'm a little old school. I love the look. I loved the look of the inn before they built their enchanted garden. I like it now. I've been all over the property. It is a beautiful work. What I think is I'm hearing is people are not focusing on the pros and cons of the structure of the hotel. There were several of you that did. You're one of them, as a matter of fact. You came prepared with these are the pros and cons of the hotel as a building. I understand that there are noise issues. I'm going to tell you, I have lived in this town my whole life. You know my biggest noise complaint? Grassroots Festival. You know how many people tell me to suck it up and move on? A lot. It happens.
All right, let her talk. Let her talk.
You cannot control every aspect of every property. I have neighbors who I have dogs that are neighbors that don't stop barking. Does it annoy me? Absolutely. My neighbors set off fireworks every 4th of July. Does it annoy me? Absolutely. Does that mean I think they shouldn't be able to add on their master bedroom suite? No, because one does not have anything to do with the other. We are proposing, are we doing this hotel at this size and space? Or are we doing this hotel at this size and space? Is that going to change how loud it is? Probably not. Is that going to change how obnoxious the fireworks are?
1 minute.
Probably not. But we need to be debating this on the merits of is building the hotel in one way better than building it in the other. The noise, the traffic, the fireworks, those are all things that need to be taken up, not just with Taconic, but with the park itself. Some of those people you see in your driveway parking along the roads, they're not guests. They came because they saw fireworks, so they stopped and like, oh, we have to look. And they have no qualms about doing so. The hotel is not going to make or break that. People are still going to do those things. When I worked at Watkins Glen for NASCAR as a caterer this year, I sat there and spoke to people who worked for NASCAR that were staying in Rochester because there wasn't a room in Ithaca to be had. They were driving an hour and a half away. That's money that could have been spent here. That's what we need to be looking at.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, who would like to speak next? Yes, sir.
My name's Matt Travis. Excuse me, I'm gonna give you some of my background.
And your address too, sir.
I have office, I've lived at 1651 for 20 years, but I have offices at 306 North Cayuga Street in Epic. And I started out as I was on the board of Alpha House, McGraw House, Kendall, the hospital, property committees. And then I became involved in downtown redevelopment. Was president of our business improvement district. My wife and I saved the State Theater, and we saved the Clinton House, and got all the debts paid off. And I've known Carl since he decided to come back to Ithaca. He was at IC, where I taught for a number of years, and he just explored and explored. He put an offer in at Mackenzie Childs, the mansion over there. Didn't work out. He found the inn, and with the Sheridans, worked out the purchase of it, and then that began the whole, what could happen. He's a hands-on guy. He does quality work. I came by there at 2 a.m. one night. He's up on the scaffolding painting the ceiling of the bomber room, as it's called now, because he did it on a shoestring. And it's gradually grown and grown and grown. And it's the sort of thing that in downtown Ithaca, we did a feasibility study of what was needed. And we ended up doing a 10-year strategic plan, and we did a second one, the third one.
1 minute, sir.
And we brought in over $500 million of investment to downtown. Not everybody's happy with it, but it sure has made a difference in the economics of Ithaca. And this project will make one heck of a difference in the economics of Trumansburg. And if anybody's gonna do it, Carl knows how to do it. And I helped a developer in Cincinnati who came to Ithaca, built the buildings right across from Center Ithaca, which I was worried, what's going to happen in my 72 years. Well, they started running better than anything, and it's an answer to your problem. It doesn't take a piece of the pie; it expands the pie. So I think this is a project that you'll never regret having done.
Thank you. I think there was another hand out there. Who would like to speak next? Yeah, I see somebody up there. Who's up on Zoom? Can you
That's
unmute
me.
yourself?
That's me. Zon.
Can you yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Zon Marshburn. Address is 4888 Seneca Road in Trumansburg. I'm right on the county line, but in Ulysses. And like 2.5 miles from Teganic Park. And I'm really kind of shocked that we're even talking about one residence or business in an entire zone having the ability to change the zoning rather than just getting the variance. That's like my thing, and I get it, but it doesn't sound like Teganic is connected with the community that is in the zone. So I would suggest that maybe Stephanie and Carl show their faces around that community and then get it together and the board not approve changing the zoning for Teganic, because it's not for Ulysses, it's for Teganic Inn. You make it for Ulysses and then everything works out, and that's about all I have to say, so I don't need any more of my minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sarah up on Zoom. Sarah Adams.
Hi,
This is Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I'd like to support the previous
Can we get your address as well,
speakers'
Sarah?
comments.
Can we get your address as well?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Can
Yeah,
we get your
I
address?
agree with the previous speaker, and I also want to just say that I'm not really hearing much about all of the people who use Taganic Park. And I feel as though, this is a much bigger issue than even just Ulysses. I mean, this is a state park and it's used by many, many people who are not represented here tonight. It was closed for both the July 4th weekend and the Labor Day weekend because of algae pollution. I really am amazed that we're even talking about adding more pavement and buildings and traffic and pollution to this watershed. This is a much bigger question than about a single business, and I agree. I don't understand how you can be contemplating changing the zoning for. To me, it's classic case of spot zoning. I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anybody else? Anybody? Would you like to respond? Is that what you're asking for? Or yes. All right. So let me just ask one final call. All right, go ahead. So yes.
Unless Jason has a preferred spot here.
Okay. All right. All right. And so I just want to say there, he's going to give a response from the applicant. And he's going to get 3 minutes to do it. And then we're going to discuss. So that's how it'll go. So don't pepper him with questions. He's just going to talk. All right, go ahead.
Thank you. If you like. Are we allowed more than just one person's 3 minutes? Or
No, just you're representing the applicant or Carl is, but not both of you.
Could you also Randy Marcus.
Yeah, could you come in so we can all see you, Randy?
Yeah, Randy Marcus with Bousquet Holstein, 200 East Pump Street, counsel to Carl in the project. I just wanted to clarify a couple of points. Some of what I'm going to say is going to be somewhat repetitive of what you've heard, but there were a lot of comments made that were not germane to the project. All that's being asked for at this point is to take an existing zoning district, which has nothing in it besides the inn's property. It does not incorporate the park. It does not incorporate any of the neighbors. It is an existing zoning district that includes just the inn and the inn property. What's being asked is only to allow for a building to go higher than is currently allowed and to have a footprint that's greater than is currently allowed. As Jason tried to explain in his introduction, we could come in and ask for approval of the hotel. The hotel is an approved use. It's not something that we're looking to change. We could put 4 buildings on the site of 20,000 square foot each, consuming a lot more area, creating a lot more impervious surface than a single building, which would go up approximately a story beyond what's allowed currently. I know there's a lot of talk about the noise, about the traffic. I understand the concerns with those things, but this isn't the right forum for that. That's something that you may wish to speak to other town officials or town boards about. This is a very, very narrow decision that the planning board needs to make tonight to make a recommendation to the town board. That's all there is to it, to change a couple of aspects of the existing zoning. And again, I'm not trying to downplay the issues and concerns and complaints that were expressed. It's just not the appropriate forum for all of those. And I know there were also a couple of comments made about why don't we go to the zoning board for a variance? We've been to the zoning board for a variance. They turned down the variance. This is the only alternative route available in the existing zoning. And if this alternative doesn't pan out, to go a bit higher and to expand the 20,000 square foot limit on a footprint, then the alternative will be the existing zoning. The idea that Carl has had and that Jason has developed is to do the best project that can be done with the least impact. The least impact on impervious surface, the least impact on drainage, the least impact on infrastructure. Because if you put all of these approximately 75 rooms in one structure, you eliminate a lot of the issues that would be created by building 4 structures of 20,000 square feet.
Thank you, Randy, appreciate it. All right. So, board members, a lot of comments tonight. So I would, we'll discuss, then we'll give one other motion that, you know, one other chance for folks in the room to respond. And then just a little structure for tonight. I would recommend that after tonight, we close the public comment period. And to not continue it further, because if this did go through, there would be, you know, public comment periods through site plan review. There would certainly be public comment periods that the town board will need, that they will have to have. And I think, you know, tonight, let's discuss in regard to everything that people have said. However, we are also not bound to make a decision or recommendation tonight. We do have 62 days to make a decision after the closing of the public comment period.
Okay.
So if there's other information that we want to gather or anything like that, I would like to get as close to a decision as we can, unless there's, you know, things outstanding. Yes, we are, what's that?
Before you discuss.
So Rich, we were gonna close it, we're gonna have a discussion, then allow for more public comment and then close it after. Yeah, thank you. All right, so by all means.
One
go
thing,
ahead. Yeah.
One, it was really, really useful to hear all the input tonight, right? It was more diverse than I expected. There were some new points brought up that I hadn't thought about, and so it was really valuable. I appreciate people took the time and came in, and it was balanced, more balanced than I anticipated. I would like to have time to mull over what I've heard tonight, because a lot of it was different and new, and therefore I don't want to have a decision tonight, and I also want to have careful input into what we actually draft as the resolution in terms of their justification for whichever decision we make. So that's my first point. Right. I don't know how y'all feel. All right, then I do have a number of comments about feedback, if you want me to start.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So I represent the environment. That's why I'm a professor at Cornell. I'm an environmental scientist. I've been studying nature for 40 years. And so I was surprised that the core issue of how this situation impacts the state park and its value as an environment for wildlife, for people coming to be in nature, was really minimized. I mean, not really brought up too much in all this conversation. This isn't like, oh, we're going to put a hotel down the lake somewhere else. This hotel is surrounded by the state park. It's taking full advantage of the benefits provided by this natural environment that is the identity of our town. Without a doubt, everybody agrees. And so, and they benefit, and he's done a good job. Apparently, you all feel very good about how he's actually used. It could have been something different, and so he seems to be doing a good job. But for me, the core is that you always have to remember the state park and its health as a state park is critical. It's not just even just a stream or a river. Then there's the lake itself and the lake shore. There's the people who use the lake on boats. And all the wildlife, and I, as an ecologist, focus on, we have unique events. Snow geese come through for 2 weeks in the spring. How many of you have seen millions that stop for 2 weeks? They depend on the lake's health, because when they go to the Arctic, they don't eat for 6 weeks while they lay there. They have to have its lake. It's a key resource. That's just one, okay? Unique natural area is part of what this whole system is. So the health of the park as an environmental piece is really key. So for me, it was surprising, since I live up in Ulysses, I don't know about all the fireworks or the sound pollution. And so right away, I'm concerned, because you're right, you'll lose owls at night, we'll lose large portions of the wildlife that would normally be using that as a habitat, as migratory habitat, residents. And so we need, and I'm quite happy to provide research data to support all those statements. This is what I do. So we will need to address what's going on with the fireworks and the noise pollution and the light pollution. I mean, all these are key issues, and there's not much habitat left back out in the world right now, guys. So we're very lucky to have some of it. Next. What I hear is the two options are a big hotel up or many hotels down, but that's not actually true. He does not have to develop that to the max. In fact, why he could say, well, you know what, I really do respect that this is a natural habitat, a natural environment. People come here, they don't really want to see all these structures. I'm going to put smaller buildings in. I won't use the full allowed footprint, and I'll actually take on some more parking space, since apparently another thing that's coming through is that there's competition for the parking at the state park, enough so that people can't always get to visit the state park. He could say, I won't put in the biggest hotel or the most hotel space. So that to me was a misrepresentation of the situation. Now, if you're out to make money, you're going to maximize, but it sounds like he's doing pretty well already. Again, I haven't seen any financial analysis or anything, but maybe the option is not just to build bigger, as strong, ravenously. Anyway, so from the environmental standpoint, we already have the structure, a system there that's imposing on the environment from sound, from light, from the fireworks. Water is a concern. This Tompkins County State sent their comments and they say, well, we don't really have enough lines in right now to provide that water. We have a Ulysses Water Committee that's trying to figure out how many people are in groundwater, and they're concerned about that. I mean, we had a drought in 2016. We don't usually have the droughts the Southeast and California have, but we're getting them. And so water is not a trivial thing. The water pollution is a huge issue. So the toxic algal blooms, we don't quite understand what's causing it, all right? I work on water pollution coming from roadside ditches. As Jason mentioned at one of the previous meetings, the stormwater is very well dealt with on the property, but when it comes down into the ditch, which goes into the lake, this more impervious surface, whether it's up or down, is going to mean more stormwater contaminants, possibly sewage, because I haven't seen that they're doing 100% cleaning on that, into the lake right there where everybody potentially uses it. So given it's a state park, it's not just some other random piece of property. It's like, this is the one place I'm going to be paying special attention to, really protect the integrity of the state park for now and the future. It is our identity. And I know you all will respect this. If Taganek Park is everything, right? So I study ditches and stuff. If pollutants came down the creek from, I'll say, septic systems, fertilizers, the manure spreading that's been increased in our town, to the point where you could not use that creek, to the point where it smelled so bad, people would not go to the inn, right? If it smelled that bad and there was manure floating by, which is more possible than you think. Many places that it's happened to them, that inn wouldn't be able to function. People couldn't use the state park. You all would come to us, why are you letting this happen? Why did you let this happen? This is our job, to protect the integrity of the resources of the town, the core resources this town depends on. And so that hotel's right in the middle of the park. It's not down further where we can balance things. It's right there, okay? So I'm watching closely to think about, it doesn't have to be maximized. They could come up with smaller, fewer apartment type, like the kind they use in the ski resorts, where they're small and you don't even notice them. They're behind the trees. They have downward lights, and there's not as many of them. There's ways that are alternatives to what's being proposed that would have less impact. So my focus is on, I've heard a lot of things and positive things about how attractive it is and how well it's being done. And that's all good to hear. I heard a lot of negative things about the noise affecting people on the lake. I don't know if you're aware, but some of the people on the lake are paying like $30,000 a year in taxes to be on that lake. All right. Now you're concerned about tax base. What is this going to do to their property value? I don't know. But these are all the things we have to balance when we make this decision. And my focus is on, it's a state park. It's there, not just for the people. It's also there for all the people who come to enjoy nature and for that wildlife and the nature that's there. So a lot of good things were said. I need to think carefully about what I've heard before I'll make my decision about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Mo or Linda, do you want to make comments or do you want to make comments, on anything Rebecca said?
Well, I agree with Rebecca, also about the noise. Unfortunately, I live in that district and I do hear the noise. I mean, I hear the music at night. And I live quite far away, and I do hear the fireworks, and I think we have to do something about that. Because I can't imagine the people who live right down close to it, what it's like. If I can hear it, and I'm at the end of Willow Creek Road, Craft Road, I can hear it there.
I'm thinking of, back to the focus of we're asking a tall building or multiple spread out buildings. And what Rebecca said that kind of hooked me is like, okay, well, you don't have to do it there at all. Well, yeah, you don't. You can still have a hotel in less fragile land, something that's not in the conservation district. You can do your expansion somewhere else near and run shuttles or whatever it takes to make it seem like it's part of the hotel. And that would take care of some of the traffic problems. I don't know. It doesn't make it easier. I understand that for the enterprise, but does it make it easier on the land and the lake and the other resources that we're trying to deal with? So that's what started, especially after looking at what the park said. Too, when they sent in their letter, which.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
specific parts of the park letter, like I noticed that the park said that they may not have enough water to provide to an
Yes.
expansion like this, and that further study will be needed. Was there another part of the letter that you were referring to as well?
Just the environment. They were really concerned about the environment and with it being, and so the whole view shed, they really pushed that we get a view shed, a view, do more investigation of the way it's going to look, which is the whole issue of scale. I think has a lot that tie back to, which we've talked about to begin with, if you did go with that. So, which is pushing me to leaning more and more to just leaving the zoning the way it is. Yes, it spreads it out, it uses more, but there has to have been some kind of thinking around why that would be better than going taller. And most of it has to do is we're all living on a hill. And every time you go up higher, you impact somebody's hill view too. And so we need to be sensitive to that. Yeah.
Rebecca, I just wanted to ask in regard to your the concerns that you laid out about, like water runoff, impervious surface, things like that. And I do understand what you're saying is, the hotel does not need to expand to the full capacity of the site. However, to play devil's advocate, within the current zoning, they could ostensibly do that. And that to have more buildings could potentially create a greater amount of impervious surface because you'd have more roofs. So I just wanted to know sort of how, given the concerns that you have, how do you propose addressing like those concerns within the current zoning? Like say we said, no, we don't want to allow for this development district because of these concerns, but the existing zoning sort of it does allow for that development. Do you have some feedback?
Go all the way out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to give me time to think about it, all right? I mean, I can't answer all these tonight. I'd have to look at the design plans. Again, I don't think, I mean, they're asking for multiple things. They want to put a spa house in or something like that. They want to get rid of the setbacks along the road because they're the only ones along the road. So they're gonna expand their footprint. They're already utilizing resources that are kind of, if I understand correctly, they're also, a lot aside from the fireworks. They're having some of the weddings in the park, so they're already kind of pushing the limits. I mean, I've been told sewage can be treated to the level of drinking water. And there are a few places that do that in the world. It costs a freaking fortune, but it can be done. It'll be unlikely they do that. So then normally have a giant drainage field. They're right next to the lake. I study groundwater. We just finished a PhD that shows that groundwater ends up in the shoreline of the lake and it carries phosphorus and nutrients. It's been not looked at as one of the causes of HABs. I'm concerned about what they're gonna do with the sewage for 75 more people. Run showers and when you do the cleaning in hotels, it's much more heavy duty chemicals than you might do in your house. So there are how we would control, be able to limit that under the current zoning. Well, the site plan review is our process. We've been told that the owners of the inn care for the community. They don't seem as aware of the environment, and they don't seem to show quite the care for the environment that they do for the people, which is, I get it. If you don't study the environment, you kind of take it for granted. Oh, it just stays there. So I'd say, okay, if we stick with what they're allowed to do, the site plan review will be the only strategy we have. We'll have to look at carefully. What are you doing with the stormwater? Because right now, some of your stuff runs into the lake right there. What are you going to do with your sewage? Because 75 more people is going to abate a lot more. Where's the water coming from? So I will be looking closely, and I'll say we're going to have to get somebody like a consulting firm or something to review their diagrams because, I'm not an engineer. I'm a, eco-hydrologist or call me something. So that is my first take on, well, we're going to very carefully look at what they do. And if they truly care about that community and you care about it, I'm dead serious. You would be up in arms if manure starts coming down the creek and it smells like manure. In turn, I hope you would care and you would come to us. I hope you would care and say, we don't need to go big as all of that. Let's think of a sustainable development design. I really think you can back off of going all the way and think about, okay, you want to reduce the parking pressure that apparently is really a concern. Let's make it a more, sell it for that instead of, like a big conference community center, sell a sustainable tourism, so Jason mentioned that, ecotourism is good for the community. Well, that's not always true. And so studies are showing some ecotourism, they actually utilize all the resources in an area and the local people end up having to leave. They can't, their own resources, their groundwater gets lowered so much they don't have water. So ecotourism, and I'm all for it, trust me, I'm an ecologist, but it has to be done sustainably. So a sustainable development design instead of a maximal development design, let's look at that and bring that in the site plan review. So I would use the site plan review as a strategy to deal with my concerns.
But the site plan review could be utilized. It would be utilized.
Yeah.
Even if this was granted.
Right. Yeah,
So
but
what is?
I don't think you're right about. I have not seen evidence that they are minimizing their footprint. When we had I don't know if that's what's called the enchantment garden, but that white tent, if you recall, we had big conversations about the setback and not imposing. It's big and there's a giant wall in front of it. It's a visual change in what that looks like there. So we're not getting I have not seen evidence of effort to kind of minimize their impact on the landscape. We remember that we had to talk through, they were going to have about 100-foot long sign that said Teganic Inn, so people could have their weddings in front of the Teganic Inn sign along the road. And so big is what I hear, not sustainable or part of the nature, part of the fitting into the landscape, harmonious with the surrounding environment. That is not what I am seeing evidence of. And so for me, allowing them to go bigger, I'm not feeling like you've given me good reasons to support that.
Okay.
But again, I've heard a lot of kind of things tonight that I take every verbatim notes. I want to read them through and think about what people have said.
And would the impact be lessened in your mind if the setback elimination that they were asking for was not included in their proposal? Like if they were saying the building is bigger, but we're also not asking to, you know what I mean? Because there's kind of some numbers being played.
So I need to look at that because I wasn't at the last meeting. At the previous meeting, they talked about other structures and I want to see, okay, your footprint, you actually have more buildings, but okay, you say you've got impervious gravel, which is okay, that's not viewed as part of the cover, but in truth, you cleared most of it. So it's like you can say things to fit the requirements that actually don't accomplish what we're hoping would be accomplished. So let me look through everything that's been said. And I, you know, I
Yes,
don't have a clear decision yet, but I'm not comfortable with what. I care about the environment, and right now, increasing that capacity to 75 more people with all the associated environmental pollutants and sound and noise and light, when it's already causing problems we weren't aware of, it does not fit what this, a state park is for our community, the value.
but, oh, you've been super patient. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that the decision we make is only a recommendation
Oh,
to
yeah.
the town board.
Yep,
The
yep.
town board is the lead on it.
Yep,
So if we say positive or negative, it's still the town board's decision.
Right.
Yeah.
yes,
So-
but they're asking us for informed input,
Mhm.
and that's our job. I mean, that's why I come to
Right.
this planning board, like I have a full-time job. I spend it, because I'm the one who, and you understand the environmental consequences. We did not really hear, most people don't, and that's not, nobody brought up all these impacts.
No, they didn't, no.
So it's like, that's our job to inform the board
Mhm.
of what, here's what you need to know to make a good decision, and good. points were
Exactly,
brought
yeah,
up.
that's what we have to
Right,
do.
right,
I mean, there's a lot of decisions to make,
yeah,
but it is still a recommendation.
yes,
But we do have to come up with a recommendation.
With
And
a
it doesn't have-
justification
it
for it.
doesn't
Yep.
Have to be tonight, but also that recommendation can be positive, it can be negative, but either way, it could also include. And we really think you need to look at
Right, exactly.
traffic, stormwater,
exactly.
setbacks, community character, style of the building, like what the state
There
park
could be
Yeah.
conditions.
letter said today was, you
But we
know,
can't put any condition
well, we can,
can
we
we-
can
The
recommend.
recommendation.
on the number of rooms
We
or
can
how
make
large. they
recommendations,
Yeah.
really of whatever we felt was appropriate. Because the town board will take them and use them within their structure.
So we could say, don't, you can't go,
Well, that could be our
that we should
recommendation.
consider.
That could be our
not
recommendation, or we
getting
could
rid of
say,
You can't say you can't build, because the zoning allows building,
no,
Yeah.
right?
no,
So you
Right.
can't say that.
Yeah.
no.
They're gonna
Right.
build.
Well,
Yeah, they're going to
Yeah.
build. I mean, they have a business district.
Yeah.
And they can do what they want in that business district.
Our decision
Now,
is just
within
about
limits,
this zoning.
within the limits of what the comp
Yes,
plan, I
it's
mean,
changed.
and
Right.
the fact that it's embedded in the state park. Means we have, as of the planning board, when we do site plan review, to say no. I mean, we're not gonna put a fireworks thing there.
yeah.
So we do have some limits on what they can do.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And depending on which district, if it's gonna be a development or a business district, they still have to have a site plan review. So that's where a lot of this will come out.
That's where we can.
But yeah, that's when we will decide on if
Yeah.
it's acceptable or not,
Yeah.
in the way of the size, the septic, the water, all of that, because they have to prove to us that they can actually do it.
Yeah, right. I mean, just going back to cars, just adding a 25 bedroom facility, not anything anywhere near as grand as this is gonna be. Look at
Exactly.
all and that's in very much less fragile
Yeah.
territory,
Agreed.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, I wanted to just chime in on a couple of our pieces that we need to be considering. So first of all, this is in the conservation area. And we've all identified that it's held to a high standard because it is right next to Teganic. So that's very important, pros and cons to that. Some of the things that, should be considered in the conservation area, appropriate land uses in this area include single-family residential, small-scale agricultural enterprises, small-scale ecotourism-based businesses, and other low-impact uses. So,
Yeah,
and when I look at sort of, the policy areas in the comprehensive plan that I think speak most clearly to this, are, first of all, ensure development that is consistent with the lakefront's existing character. So I think that's a very key consideration that we have to make. Is something smaller, is something lower in height, more consistent with the lakefront's existing character than something higher in height, right? Does this other one here, this is objective 2.1 in the comprehensive plan. It says land use development should be consistent with the vision of the town. Utilize the results of the community character survey to aid in codifying the design standards for inclusion in the updated zoning law. So our current zoning, which they're asking us to modify, was created using a community character survey, which was developed over several years. So I'm giving that a much higher value than, it's like if I'm trying to weigh things on a scale, right? I think the community character survey, which incorporated the entire town, was conducted by professionals over years, has more weight to it than, what I'm hearing, basically what I'm hearing tonight. Like I'm needing, or what we're discussing tonight, or what we're gathering even. We have to give that a lot of weight because that's what created the current zoning. So for me, the reason to change it has to be very compelling. And so, is this compelling or not, right? So I go to 21220 of rezoning for development districts. It's 21220.
Oh, well, find that before you go.
Yep. Yeah. So development districts or other rezoning actions.
Okay, yeah.
And I think these are points, is this a compelling reason to change? And so I think these points are what we should be debating. And I agree with you, Rebecca, that everything you've said is like very pertinent because it's right on the lake, it's right next to the park. It's a very important piece of property for those reasons. So, what we are ordered to consider is the need within the community for the proposed use. There's basically there's a handful of things we need to consider. So when I look at this, I'm thinking the need within the community for the proposed use. Yes, I think, continued development, like the economic development of the site is a positive for the community. Can it be done within the existing zoning in an effective way? I think it could be. I don't think that, the existing zoning allows for hotel use. Then desirability of proposed location. For me, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that turn on the Gorge Road is tricky. And I'm thinking it's terrible. And I'm also thinking that it's very close to the lake. It's what we consider sort of a fragile, significant environment. That makes it beneficial because people do want to come and stay near the park. People do want to come to Trumansburg. They do want to come and spend money at the hotel, spend money at the, in the town. But there's definitely some things that make that not a desired proposed location. So I can see both in that. And then I'll just say the last one here, and then I'll let you look at them yourselves. But the compatibility of the applicant's proposed mix of land uses with the existing character of the neighborhood in which it is proposed. So this is my biggest concern. I feel like the scale of it is too large to be compatible with the existing character, and that it sets a precedent for other uses. I know that we're being asked to consider this, but we have to consider sort of the comprehensive plan as a whole. So we need to consider the impacts on the larger community. And while I am supportive of the hotel being successful, I do think this sets a precedent for potentially other large hotels that, may not be considered viable if they're smaller, right? Somebody who's bringing in something 75 beds or more may have an economic model that says, smaller, I'm not going to be able to succeed. I'm concerned that it opens up a door for this kind of development happening at other locations along the lake. So those are my three main concerns, and I'd like to hear your feedback on that.
You are correct about that. If you allow one in, the next one that wants to build is going to say, you let him in, why aren't you letting me in? So you could have a problem. There is a lot of property, large pieces of property up and down 89 close to the park, that if a developer buys it and comes to the town and says, I want to build a hotel, they want to get in on the action too. And it is a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on desirability and need for community use as far as like this change versus the existing zoning? Because we're not saying you can't have a hotel. That's not our job. Our job is to
Once
comment
again,
on this
you can
change.
have it. Yeah, the only criteria to me, and I don't really have the answer, is what advantage does having less floor space have with the height? And yes, there's only park behind it, but that park's the place, and as a a longtime hiker, you know, going along and all of a sudden. It's really disconcerting when you come along a highly developed
If
place,
you-
all of a sudden you take it away,
Mhm.
you know.
If you see where the building is now,
Yep.
that building. The hotel is very, well, that particular, if they put a hotel, is very close to 89.
Yeah,
And it's going to be 4 or 5 stories high.
right,
So really, when you drive by, you won't see anything but the hotel.
right. You won't know that there's a woods.
So,
plan, yeah,
no,
right,
and it is very close. I don't know how close, but it's pretty
Yeah.
close to the road.
yeah, it is. Some nice
It,
trees
it-
there
it would,
too.
it would be a much different proposal if it was up on 96.
Yep,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
exactly. Once again, back to mine,
Mhm.
why put something that massive
Right there.
with, you know, a really fragile place like that?
And also the
Mhm.
Gorge Road. It is a very dangerous road. I've been driving back and forth for the last 2 weeks. And from the north, when you have to make a right turn into Gorge Road, very difficult because the road actually faces south.
Yeah,
So even if no hotel goes up there, that road really has to be corrected. It is extremely dangerous.
yeah, right.
A lot of the concerns I
Yeah.
heard tonight were for the noise, which is really not what we're assessing. However, I do think in a review by the town, by the town board, if they chose to grant this, I would imagine that they could create stipulations around the noise and around time limits.
I was wondering
Fireworks
about
could
that
happen,
too.
Music could be
Yeah,
set,
she had-
hours that could
yeah,
be set.
Yeah,
I'm just saying on the converse, this could be an opportunity to create some of those safe, some of those interventions that would make at least some of the noise issues.
I don't agree. That's what I said. We have a law right now, the 90 decibel, nobody, we don't go
Well,
out, we don't go monitor that. I
and we
mean,
don't have the ability to, yeah.
but we can. I mean, we have a code of, I mean, everything costs money. There are equipment that you can have. We're gonna set these up. Well, I mean, citizen science, everybody gets one. And if you hear that the noise is too loud, let us know. We put them up along the roads. You guys are now exceeding the limit and you pay a fine. I mean, we don't have a very good enforcement. A
Yeah.
monitor, it requires a rule monitoring, enforcement, and some kind of negative feedback. This is what I'm hearing is the fireworks are incredibly loud. Oh my God, that breaks the rule. And they're doing it how many times? It's very different if you do it once a year at our fair. This is, I mean, I think some kind of approval has to be given, like, guys, this is affecting all the animals. I like, what the heck? That's way above 90 decibels. We can enforce those rules, all right? But that's, now, the reason it's relevant here is, one, I'm glad, I didn't know those problems existed, and now we need to deal with it, or the board, the town, we should be looking at those issues. But expanding the capacity of the site, where now more cars are coming in and out, there's more noise associated with cars, there's more people partying. I mean, there will be more noise because you have a lot more, 75 rooms, 2 people, 150 people more every night. It's gonna be more noise. So yes, it is relevant. I mean, I think things need to be done about that.
I'm not saying it's not relevant. I guess what I was saying is, can the town board create additional restrictions on the fireworks and the music?
If they come
Right?
up with it.
And Rich is a liaison, so what's that?
But because Rebecca said we don't have the staff to come out.
Right.
I see.
Is Mark gonna get up into the, and night every weekend and go monitor and like that?
Do you want to approve overtime? I don't know.
We probably have to hire a whole staff, more staff to do it.
Well, the stipulation could be, you can't have outdoor music. Right, which puts a real wrinkle in it.
Well, that
you
would
know?
put a big impact.
It would, I know, but that's it.
I mean,
Yeah.
if people are.
But
really
people
on
are
their-
already being impacted.
I mean, they're way far away on their decks and they're listening to the music and they can't talk.
Right.
I mean, that's shocking
Yeah,
to me. I mean, that is not, somebody's not doing their job
Yeah.
if that's happening.
Yeah.
So.
I've also heard that, the concerts at Taganic, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that, and I would like to inquire about this, that the concerts that were held at Taganic were ceased because of the noise from the competing noise from the.
That's one.
Yeah.
That's the.
I also, just, I don't know, anecdote, I was talking to somebody about, I live near Taganic Falls, and they said, we went to a silent movie, but there was so much noise from so much noise from the wedding. And then these fireworks that, it wasn't.
Well, people don't even go there like on Saturday nights for barbecues because you know, they want to sit by the water where it's quiet, and if there's noise, they're not gonna use the park.
Yeah, so,
All right.
so this could be used by the board, this,
Yeah.
a way of doing something about it, but.
But I think we have to write up a
Yeah.
real recommendation
Careful.
on everything that
Yep.
goes on.
into it,
And one of them
yeah.
is the capacity because of water and sewer that could be impacted a lot because.
Yeah.
I would imagine that if he has a ballroom on one side and a wedding. You know, the Enchanted Garden on the other side, that he wouldn't put two weddings at the same time.
Right.
And if that's the case, now you're using double in one day, which could be a real impact
Well, using
on water
double.
and sewer.
But could you explain that again, Mo?
Oh, no, I mean, he's putting out a hotel with a ballroom. Correct, so he'd have a wedding there on Saturday night and a wedding outside on Saturday night. Now you're having impact on. You might have 300 or plus people in there. And that could put a real impact on water and sewer at that particular time.
Okay. So let's do this, because it's 9:30 and I would like to, I would like to do two things. I would like to go through what the planning board should consider and I would like to sort of create things that we want, like our opinion on what we should consider. What we think the town board needs to consider. And then, you know, if people feel ready, to say that they, you know, want a negative or a positive, you know, just how you're leaning, not taking a vote tonight, because there's more information that I know you want to get.
Right,
Um,
no, I think we should
but-
think about it.
but I think if we, you know,
Yeah.
we could at least say which way we're leaning, so we can at least start to draft a resolution. But if you can't say that because you need more information.
Yeah,
then-
I don't think, I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of emotion, there's a ton of information, pros and cons, different people represented the different opinions. I sleep on things, that's how I come to, I don't answer emails the same day if I can help it, I need to sleep on them to think about it. You'll get a much more thoughtful response from me tomorrow than you'll get tonight, so I would prefer mull over all the things we've heard. Now, you come up with a nice list, as always, Pete, you're a superb leader. What the planning board should consider, I mean, let's make
Are you
these
looking at
lists,
it?
yeah.
All right, you see, and Rebecca, I would like to say that if you're not comfortable saying which way you're leaning, fine.
Yeah,
But,
I'm not.
if other folks want to, I invite that, because I feel like that'll kind of get us in moving in a direction that where we could ideally, you know, get a draft resolution that we could then tweak at our next
Right.
meeting after gathering additional information.
Well, I
That,
would
that would be
like
my
to-
goal, so we can move it along and not
I would like to make a
spend forever
motion
on it. What's that?
to continue the conversation to the next meeting.
Well, I would like to continue right now with some of these things that we can consider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
And I do want to give time, well, let's do this, and then I want to give, you know, brief time for additional public comment and then brief time for response as well. So looking at planning board shall consider, this is 21220B, number 1, the need within the community for the proposed use in regard to the change, not in regard to a hotel or not a hotel. That's the way I'd like to frame it. Because that's what we're being asked about.
Right. I agree.
I don't know, can we start this way and go around? Does people want to do that or go and talk about it? I'm just, whatever, you can talk
Wait,
first.
I'm not clear.
It's not a vote, I'm
No,
just
so,
looking at order.
okay. Tell me where you're
Yeah.
looking.
I'm looking at 212-20,
Hold on.
rezoning for development district. You can search
oh,
code.
sorry, say that again, which one?
It's 212-20.
I don't
Dash
have it,
20.
I don't have the,
Okay, so it's in code. You can go Town of Ulysses, our board, and then underneath our
I
board,
gotta get it up here.
there's. You know. Well, I'll just read them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Read them.
Planning board shall consider the need within the community. I'm gonna say, instead of the proposed use, I'd say for the proposed changes. I'll answer first, I guess. I think there's, you know. A need for, potentially, there's a need for like. Economic development, however, I think the proposed changes are not necessary. Personally, because the
Yeah,
existing zoning allows for the need to be achieved. That's my
Right.
feeling.
and it's clear that there's at periods of time where there aren't sufficient hotel rooms in
Right.
the area.
Yeah,
I mean, essentially.
yeah.
But the existing zoning allows for him to build some.
Build-
hotels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
right, good point. Yeah,
All right. Mo, do you have any, do you,
yeah.
okay, do you agree with that or?
No, I'm trying to read it
Okay,
first.
okay, all right.
And you're saying 212-20, rezoning for, yeah, and which item were you on?
So
A,
it's B.
B,
So it's
okay, you're
two,
in B,
well, you go down to, there's A, B, C. And then it gets even further down. It's,
planning, okay, so you're on B one.
now I've lost it. Where are we? Okay. Hold on. Yep, B1. All right, so.
Right,
do
I'm
you-
uncomfortable with
within the
this.
community.
I honestly feel
Yeah.
like you're kind of pressuring us to now detail
Uh-huh.
pros and cons of each of
Yeah,
these, and I really would feel like we would have the next meeting, we'll have a fresher, like, time to think this through and go through this list. I mean, we have 62 days.
Okay.
We got a lot of input tonight. This is the biggest kind of response we've ever had. I'm not comfortable sitting here, all right, need within community for the proposed change. I'm just voicing my
Yeah,
opinion.
Okay, no,
Right,
that's,
I don't-
that's very
I think
valid.
it's pushing. Well,
Okay,
we did a lot tonight. I'd rather think it through what we heard instead of now, I have to listen to, I just don't think that's a good idea,
okay,
or not, so, that's just my.
all right.
particular-
Does anybody else feel like Rebecca does?
I agree, and I'd like to read some of we didn't get everybody's comments, people that turned things in. I'd like to read some of them.
Okay, okay,
Wow.
all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Mo, do you feel similar?
That's why I made the motion.
All right,
Because
all right, fair enough.
It's getting late.
getting late,
and
okay,
We're getting
okay.
tired.
Okay. All right, so with that said, I would like to then, as promised, I would like to limit it to 1 minute apiece if you have an additional comment or question to say. Yes, and name and address for the record.
Sarah Abernethy, new park event venue at 1500 Teganic Boulevard. I didn't think that my opinion would be helpful before because, I don't know a lot about, which size the building should be, right?
You can have 3 minutes, go ahead.
But I know a lot about events, and I know that if the events are in a structure, they're going to be significantly quieter. We've run events within the pavilion, and we've run events in the tent outside the pavilion. If they are in the pavilion and you're in one of our suites, you cannot hear them. So I think that the noise conversation is actually going to be addressed significantly with this proposal. I also would say that, if in a development district, there's also more opportunities for the enchantment garden to be modified in order to in order to control some of that noise. So I just wanted to make sure that was said. The other piece is I can very much agree on there are insufficient hotel rooms in the area. And one point that wasn't mentioned tonight was that Ithaca has a convention center coming in, and the only people that plan further in advance than a wedding are conventions. I lose weddings when there are no hotel rooms in Ithaca. There are many times that people come and say, hey, I want to have a wedding here. And we say you have to call Hotel Ithaca first to see if there's enough rooms.
Yeah.
And we've lost weddings because of that. So that is a really big impact to Trumansburg. And it's important that we have enough places for people who have events and tourists to stay. So I wanted to make those 2 points because I didn't feel like those were made earlier, and I think that is it. The other thing was the traffic. One of the biggest sources of traffic is at the end of the night when all of the people are heading back to Ithaca. There's actually going to be a reduced movement because people are actually staying. They're going to be walking back to the hotel rooms. It's also much safer for people who are going to be right there on the property. So I just wanted to make sure those things were said.
You're saying that people at weddings like to party. Sorry.
Yes,
to-
I can speak as an expert. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else? Any other additional
I would
comments?
just, I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say, all due respect to both my colleagues.
Can you speak up just a little?
Virginia Augusta,
Yeah.
again, Halsey House. I have never once been called by
Carl's team for rooms. Actually, one time I was.
No, let her speak,
No,
please.
So I'm just saying, I have been contacted by 2 wedding planners, but have never been visited or I invited people to come, but I've never been sent people except for once, and they did not show up. And then I know Sarah has me listen. I'm just saying, I've never said, hey, do you have rooms? I'm happy to, again, I wish you guys great success and everything. I'm not really against this project. I just want to put it out there is that there's still a lot more work to be done in terms of partnering from my perspective. There are others, I'm sure, in the community that could also be involved in that conversation.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Just quickly, Dale Strock, 1683 Tangana, one of the neighbors right down the street. I forgot to say that, whenever I bring people to the inn, they're very impressed by what's been done. It does not take away from the natural environment, from my point of view, what's been done. So I respect, what's been done. And I would hope that it'll continue. If I saw 5 more buildings like the yellow building back there, just like that, no, it's not better. That is not better than one nice looking hotel. Personally, I would like the setback to stay. But the bigness of it doesn't bother me, or the height. Because we're on a big hill, it is not blocking anyone's view. I don't want to see 5, 6 little buildings all over the place. The last thing I want to say is I'm so appreciative of what you've said about the environment, that you have knowledge that you're going to apply here. That is so important. One thing that the residents feel is that we miss the park concerts. I would like the facts and the data that can prove to me that it's because of economics that they stopped doing concerts. That is such a big community benefit that hundreds of community residents get together and sit out and enjoy each other. And then you see the little kids and the grandparents, everybody talk, well, it's gone. That's not a nice a development of what's happening in the park. The park means a great deal to us. It has to mean a great deal to the inn as well. I mean, why else were people gonna come? So let's preserve that park and don't ruin our water and sewer either, or we'll have to move away.
Thank you. All right, I saw a bunch of hands, so I don't know who's next, but you can go ahead.
Michael Malpass, 8 Prospect Street here in Trumansburg. My wife and I have lived here for 34 years. Sure. My wife and I have lived here for 34 years, same house, and we've enjoyed Taughannock Park immensely. It's big draws that everyone does. Speaking to the decision that you're thinking about making tonight, tall or broad, it just seems, personally speaking, that the tall building is less in character with the surrounding environment. Ulysses in general, and a smaller one, there's lots of other considerations about this. Again, it's not the place to argue about size, but I think I like what Ms. Schneider was talking about, smaller rather than having to max out the number of people who's there. And part of that has to do, my wife and I are very much concerned. We walk the South Rim every day just about, and we love the environment. We love watching the Peregrine Falcons, who are back after 70 years. We watch them nest, we watch them fledge. We watch the ravens up the gorge from there. I mean, genuine concerns with the number of the impacts that this development would have on the nature of the forest. The environmental part probably have not been looked at.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I know there's another hand.
I just have a question. So we're presenting this to you now and you're presenting it to the zoning board?
So we're the planning board.
You are the planning.
And our job is to make a recommendation or recommendations, right? It can be, yes, we like it, no, we don't, or hey, when you consider this, consider A, B, and C.
Yeah, I got it. But my real question is,
Oh.
are we going to be able to be present for another meeting, or is this the culmination of
So-
everything we said tonight that you are going to present?
So that for this is the culmination of everything for our recommendation, because if it gets approved. Town board's gotta have a public hearing, we would have another public hearing when it came before us as a site plan. So there would be many other opportunities if it were to be approved, or if it weren't approved and they went forward with different plans.
Okay. And another point I wanted to say is that the pictures of what it was proposed in the beginning that were shown in, I think, the Ithaca Voice, it's more of a Tudor style. And more, organic looking, and what we were shown tonight are completely different. They don't even match. This is all like modern big white thing that you are going to see when you're on the Southern Trail or coming down to go around into the bridge into the Gorge Trail.
And just the drawings that we were shown, they're just like concept, they're not actual.
Okay,
they're
well, they
symbolic
changed
to the-
tremendously from the first ones shown to the ones shown tonight.
Yeah, and part of that, I think, is because we asked for something that wasn't quite as blocky.
Yeah.
and-
But they've been really clear that this isn't at all what
What we're
Yeah.
gonna get.
what you're gonna get.
So
So
when
don't
we
count
get-
on it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll go with you because I think you had yours up first and then you had next, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm still Vivian Rose and I have a question. My understanding is that this process is the planning board makes a recommendation, no, a recommendation, yes, or a recommendation, yes, with conditions that the proposer accepts or that doesn't accept.
No.
Does not accept. Okay, so in those two cases, no, or does not accept, the board is required to have 4 out of 5 of the board members vote in affirmative for the for the application to be approved.
If you're referring to the town board, then
Town
I
board
would
was
refer
sitting next
you
to me.
to the person sitting next to you, because I
Yes.
don't know their rules.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, I mean, I read it, but who knows? Things change from.
I thought you were
when I read
asking
it at
me.
home.
I thought you were asking.
I wanted to be clear that, because I haven't been clear all this meeting about what you could recommend or not recommend and what the repercussions were at the town board level.
Yeah.
They'll recommend whatever they want, the town board will then take it under consideration. We've asked them to give us their input. We're obviously going to rely a lot on what they're saying, but it's our own. Grant the development interest or not, with whatever conditions we deem appropriate.
So is it not true then that they recommend no
Yeah.
or recommend with conditions that you need 4 out of 5 members to vote yes?
Yeah, that's true, that's good.
4 out of 5.
Right.
Okay, all right. Great, so that was my question.
Okay.
And I just wanted to I didn't get through all the things that I proposed, but I was quoting directly from the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
So my, what you didn't hear and what I didn't get to say is that in my view, the comprehensive plan is the contract with the town government, with the residents. And when the residents say, this beauty here is our 93% of us say that is our identity, and it's on every t-shirt and every postcard and every other thing. It's been there for thousands of years. We are gonna be here for how long? In my mind, that's the most important thing. And when 93% of us say that's the most important thing, then that's the most important thing. So a condition could be a 35-foot vegetated setback like in Spruce Road. Or a condition could be active involvement in preservation of the resources in the park. Or it could be any number of things, but other development zones have written into the code the requirements for them to be there, including that vegetative buffer. So a 0 buffer or a 15-foot buffer is using the park for the buffer. And I don't want to see the park be used for a business,
Right.
however iconic
All right.
it might be.
That's,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, I'll take you and then you, and then we're gonna wrap up, because, well, All right, you and then you, and then you'll be last, and then we'll wrap up. All right, go ahead.
Just address that ethical voice article, which you saw, we call monopoly buildings, it's just a massing study, no design whatsoever. It's a design.
This is just your name, sir. I'm sorry, Mac Hyde, Mac Travis.
I'm a partner, I'm an investor. Secondly, we had septic issues. And we hired Steve Mabey, former director of Department of Health, to come in as a consultant. He put us in touch with a firm and redid all the kitchen and septic for the hotel into seepage pits, and it's drinking water pure. We did a conceptual study for the other side, effective hotel, not to worry about quality of water. There are systems that make that literally drinking water pure, and they do it in a space that's sizable.
Thank you. All right, and thank you. All right,
And I'm Meredith Harris. I just had a couple of really quick comments. We had, it has to do with water availability
right.
and feasibility of, I'm assuming it would be wells that would be tapping into versus where would the water come from? So it's lake water being brought up. Okay, just curious.
The water, yeah, I mean, there's water comes from Teganic with an agreement with the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because drilling there is very complex due to the shale formation, as from a builder that came to look at our property. Maybe something a little bit bigger. And then second of all, which was addressed by someone on the internet there, was the taxes and would making a new developmental district have the opportunity to change the tax structure so that there's some money coming directly back to, or is that?
Our town board liaison, Rich, is saying that it does not have the
Does not.
capacity.
Okay, because
It'll be assessed for whatever it's assessed for, regardless of.
I was curious because I paid my school tax today. And on a whim, I looked up Teganic Inn and they pay just slightly more than double what I paid. And I guarantee you, I have no income coming out of my property. And my property is much smaller and much, so I just don't know how it's assessed.
The Department of Assessment in Hopkins County assesses everything. So at a local level, there's nothing to say.
Well, I would just love to make sure that if this happens, that,
Well,
comes back to the, economically, I have more concerns environmentally, but economically that we get compensated.
Okay, actually, I'd like to make, if there are no further comments, I'd like to make a motion to close the public comment period and then we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Close the comment period.
Second, Rebecca.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Alright, excellent. All right, Carl, come and give a response and also I'm gonna time you in 3 minutes.
3 minutes, thank you. I stood here 8 years ago and I was naive in what the process was. I designed beautiful event spaces for that space. And I also sought zoning, BZA zoning. After 2.5 years, I failed miserably and was left with a $500,000 fee between Demrest and all of the studies that this department asked me to do, I did, from noise, environmental, all the way down to the middle. I can't afford to spend another $500,000 to hear no, and I'm not gonna do it. That's why I'm pursuing this plan development. Let me at least develop something beautiful within a bigger box. If you've seen what I've done, you'll know it's going to be beautiful. So that's why we're here for the plan development. I'm not trying to cut a corner or whatever that guy said, being treated unfairly. You keep saying other places. What is the other place? High tide floats all boats. A healthy business is a healthy town. I've got a great business. I had a loser 8 years ago. It needed millions of dollars. It didn't have a phone system or a POS system. The roofs were shot. The structure was gone. I mean, it took me a lot to build this place up. And what's really upsetting to me is here I am again, seeing the same haters that I saw.
Carl, please be
Not you, I'm
respectful.
pointing at the people that are gone.
Please don't.
Haters that I saw 8 years, I wasn't pointing to you, sir. I was pointing to the empty chairs. Same haters I saw 8 years ago that fought this whole thing. And now they're back because they heard noise. I didn't want to build that. I wanted to build an event center. Now, with that said, I stand here in front of everybody today and say this. I am 100% accountable for everything that happens at the Inn of Teganic, good or bad. I am here. I work 7 days a week, 105 hours a day. When I heard that there was noise up there, I went up 6 times this weekend and checked the noise to make sure that it was honest and it was actually happening. So I sit here in that hall and I start hearing the misinformation again. You're going to leave here and you're going to say, wow, this guy doesn't care about the people or the noise or the fireworks. That is so not true. And I had to deal with that 8 years ago. Sherman Kelly and his wife, Judy Abrams, posted like 4 nasty articles about me in the newspaper. I'm here a minute. They're like, I don't embrace them. I'm the new guy. I'm just trying to fix an old hotel and make it great. Somebody talked about buses. Yeah, they're buses taking the people to hotel rooms. I don't want the buses in the street. I do my best. I have nowhere to put the buses, but giving me a hotel gets rid of the buses. By the way, you're right. That road needs to go down. These Waken trucks go down at 80 miles an hour. And I care and I want you to know it. So I just don't want to hear people sitting in a room where I'm not in it saying that I'm some kind of like mean-spirited guy that's out to hurt people with noise. I went up there and it is not.
Carl, that's time.
All right.
That's time.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one comment. So I'm Mike Strock. I live at 1683.
But we did close the public comment period, so I cannot accept a comment.
About
Sir, I'm sorry.
fireworks.
Sir, we
Several
have
people
closed the
said that
public
there are
comment.
fireworks every weekend. 3 times. 3 times. Not every weekend. 3 times, and I sit
So,
there,
folks,
so I hear it.
we are gonna wrap it up tonight.
Sorry.
By the way, Peter, thank you for letting me talk. I'm sorry because I care so much, but it really needs to
Carl,
me to get this done.
Thank you. All right.
A motion to.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Motion
Oh, wait,
adjourned.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, we have one liaison report. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna. don't worry, I'll-
Did you have a?
Nothing, well, I have a motion to continue the discussion to the next meeting. That was the first motion.
Right,
Give it a second. Okay, any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Now you can make.
Town liaison report. Rich, you're rubbing your eyes over there.
The training. let's go with
Nothing?
the training.
Oh, training.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a deadline. I just wanted to last year this time.
Michael, human evolution, you taught it, it was mind blowing. I talked to my kids.
Oh, it's nice to know. Yeah, it's not-
Rich, Rebecca, are we having a discussion?
I knew about that training. Yeah, that's a liaison.
Mo, we still have liaison report. Folks, we are still conducting business, so we need you to clear out to the hall. Thank you. Please hold your discussion until you're in the hall. Thank you. Come on up, Rich. I got a chair for you right there.
So I've asked the question though, just so you're up to date, on whether or not we're responsible for taking the trainings that are due by September 22nd. There was, yeah.
What training?
On business management of hiring.
Unless you want to be in a meeting. That was precedent to do the training in May.
How about the sexual harassment? Okay, is that also by September 25th?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's one on management of hiring, which is what got the BZA very upset because we don't do hiring.
We don't do that.
Yeah,
So is that one apply to us? Or no?
right now it does until they change.
The other training about sexual harassment and all that.
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Well, then you're fine.
Yeah, but what about this one on the management of hiring? If we don't
That
take
was
it,
done, that was taken care of.
I have not seen an email about it saying it's no longer. table.
Alright. So it sounds like Rich is gonna address the town board about that. Hopefully we don't have to do it.
We can see, talk to Caitlin tomorrow, we meet with people.
Well, your board, I mean, the zoning board of appeals have all agreed they would quit if they were required to take that. And so,
Well.
no, it's not. There are plenty of important trainings we need to take, and we brought up ones. I would like to, I'm happy to give one on wetlands.
I would love that.
But
Yeah.
some of this particular one was totally outside of our need. It was like, why are we doing that? So,
So I agree with you that. We're trying to set up a meeting so we can go over all this and come up with.
all right, well, let us know, because I mean, it's 2.5 weeks away.
On
you know.
Thursday, I'm going in the afternoon to take the train for the. On.
Yeah, but let's just give an into.
Well, that's it.
Okay.
Show your training is, and
Not
we don't
gonna
need
have-
to take.
2 hours.
But it's a hybrid.
I'm taking 4 or 5 at Cornell.
it's
Cybersecurity,
not, there's more
section
to
rest.
it.
That's it.
It's
Done.
more.
I asked, so ASR, what it wants, Hopkins County recommends, and that is not one. She says the state has a set of them. That's not one we should be taking.
Okay, all right.
Put a little control over what you guys dump on us.
I agree.
All
I
right,
agree 100%.
all right, well then, you're in charge, not us.
I agree.
And I'm telling you, you're gonna have this board, at least some of us, walk.
You better not let that happen.
We
Rich.
put up with a lot, all right, and we're dealing with some tough topics,
Oh.
and you dump this extra peripheral stuff,
I agree.
like we don't.
No, we're not against
it's
you.
for free,
I know.
all right.
I hear you.
But I want a response. I don't want to just, I hear you and I feel for you.
Talk to Caitlin tomorrow.
So
So whoever came up with that one needs to be
Alright,
seriously
so
thinking about it.
Rebecca, before you get up, Neil's has a response to this, and we're not adjourned yet. We
Okay,
have to get Neil's response, and then I'd like to.
okay.
Just because I heard a question or comment on the timeline, so what I heard from Lexi was.
From who?
Lexi, our HR,
Yeah, I own or something.
so whatever that September deadline that you're mentioning has 1 or 2 extensions, so that deadline is the end of November.
I would like to see, please resend that email that I did not get. And again, we have several weird email addresses that,
Well, this
don't
would be
work.
from Lexi, so, but I'll ask
I
her
don't
tomorrow.
yeah,
I'm
please make sure.
So-
November, fine, we can work things out,
Right, right.
but 2.5 weeks from now, not to have heard anything, very disturbing.
All right.
I know we're all busy, and I know you were very busy, and you also do a great job putting out our little forms with what we have to click with, so I appreciate it. It's getting better and better,
So
but this was very disturbing to me.
I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye, okay, Pete, you did awesome.
Thanks. That was helpful.
I couldn't do it, but you do, I really,